All right. Dear Lord, I don't know what kind of crud I got, but I got some kind of crud. Hopefully, you guys are out there and listening, and everything's going good for you. God damn it. Cool. What's going on, Sheree? What's up, young Midoriya? Yeah, it's just a cold or, I don't know, the flu, COVID, whatever. I don't even know how I got the crud. But I've been sleeping all day. Like, I woke up legitimately probably about 20 minutes ago. I had to set everything up, just been out of it. I don't even think I'm going to paint. It's like my head's all goofy and spinny and everything else. If I cover my mouth, then my voice will sound like, like it'll be all messed up. Hold on, let me try covering my mouth.
How does this sound? Is this better?
I don't know. I don't think it sounded better. I mean, it's funny because the desk is exactly like I left it. Definitely crappy. So what is going on to everybody? Everybody? Flip that over to live chat. Dear Lord. So anyway, like I said, I'll make it a kind of a quick one. Yes, Vince McMahon. I'll go into him, not everything that he's done, but definitely give you guys a better description. Basically, we might as well call this one. Let's fill in everything that ABL thinks he knows but doesn't know. Stream, because the crap that like last night's stream when I came to it like 5 this morning, I popped it on real fast and watched it and kind of sped through it. So I'm sure there's stuff I missed that he covered, stuff that it didn't go in depth on. I did listen to the phone call with Ivan, and what was funny was Ivan was half right, and ABL didn't know he was half right. Like I was like, "Oh no, Ivan's right, dude. What are you doing?" Well, taking care of myself first is so so. What's up, Devin? How are you? But yeah, so we'll start off on the first kind of correction that ABL said something about Vince McMahon about his lawsuit, and if he had just, blah, blah, blah. He didn't go into depth on what that lawsuit actually was. So, what ABL neglected was the way everything started was because they basically figured out that he misappropriated, I think it was 15 to $21 million. Like almost like it looked like insider embezzling from WWE when he was in charge of it. So they started investigating where this money got misappropriated to. Where the money actually got misappropriated to started out in the 1980s there was a one female referee, and anybody who's like old school who watched old WWF knew her. Or she worked. I want to say like WrestleMania 1, 2, or 3, maybe all three of them. She's just one of the referees. Her name was Rita Chatterton, and she had come out and alleged that Vince McMahon sexually assaulted her in the back of a limo, and was released from the company immediately. All that kind of stuff. Well, here on the down low, he had paid her off like $1.5 million. That was the first one. That dates back to the 80s. Fast forward to there's still like I think it was like 6 or 7 million. They don't know, but it went to hush money to women basically that Vince McMahon apparently did inappropriate things with. Fast forward to more modern day, the big one that broke, and then everybody came out, like Breeder Chatterton's story came back up, but then people started coming out kind of in mass about what they knew and what they saw. So there was this woman named Janelle Grant, and apparently she's like late 20s, early 30s. Her her parents passed away, and she lived in like the same kind of apartment complex or condo complex from Vince McMahon, because Linda McMahon is Vince McMahon's wife. They are still together technically on paper. They never got an actual divorce. And she whatchamacallit, she's been living in like the mansion up in Connecticut. Vince McMahon, because he was running WWE and like on the road 24/7, he ended up like living, different condos around the country, stuff like this. Well, this woman, Janelle Grant, lived in the same condo complex as him. Her parents had died, and somebody introduced her to Vince McMahon. And now this is all allegedly, because this is the current lawsuit going on. But there's a ton of evidence on it. And Vince apparently brought her in, put her on the legal team, gave her a whole bunch of money in a private office, and kept her locked away, and basically made her his mistress. But at some point, she tapped out and didn't want to do stuff with him. And he still kept her. He like basically kept her like a prisoner. It's the best way of putting it. She So basically what ended up happening was he showed illicit pictures of her, shared them with people, telling the stories, and then one of the guys that worked there, his name, in wrestling was Johnny Ace, but his real name's John Laurinaitis. He was one of the talent relation managers specifically for the women, which is what makes this extra kind of disgusting. What's up, CLB? I'll talk about printers in a minute. I'm just kind of filling everybody in on Vince McMahon, like the whole everything that happened with it, because it was brought up on another stream a bunch of us are on. And like the guy was like, oh, he shouldn't have, like he did some foolishness and blah blah blah, but didn't even go into what he got nailed out for, and why. Yeah, I do need some Frunaz, the irresistible candy with the irresistible taste. That's a funny story, and I'll probably tell that in a minute too. I'm kind of keeping this one short. As you can tell, I got some kind of crud. Yeah, well, yeah, she tapped out at some point in time, right? So Janelle Grant, like he did some like pretty terrible things to her. Some stuff I'm not even going to get into. You can find the lawsuit, you can read it yourself. But Johnny Laurinaitis, Johnny Ace, brought him in and like basically sent her. He got, I guess, tired of her. Is the best way of putting it, and sent her to Johnny Laurinaitis's and made her his, the assistant to him or whatever, and pretty much commanded her to to have intercourse with him. And then Johnny Laurinaitis apparently, yeah, did the R word to her. And he shared pictures with Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar was supposed to hook up with her too. She was supposed to be the cherry on top for his contract signing, his re-up. And apparently Brock Lesnar was too drunk or something like that, so it never happened. But this is all in lawsuit right now. Apparently, Vince is going. Like his reputation was destroyed, but it made him step down. They merged TKO. Like all this rumbling started coming out about the millions of dollars being paid off somehow to somewhere. Nobody could get into it just yet or figure it out, like what's going on. So they merged with UFC and formed TKO, and then Vince stepped down immediately. And then everything kind of broke. He came back to finalize the merger, and then he's been gone from WWF, WWE. But he built everything. Like, I mean, everything. And he like, I'm trying to think. Right now, it's still in litigation. Two sides have been arguing and all this, but Linda McMahon getting confirmed as the Secretary of Education. It's going to be interesting to see if she actually gets confirmed or not. Yeah, yeah. You're not wrong, CLB. And that's just it. Like his son in law took over, and he's an old wrestler. I mean, his son in law's real name is Paul Levesque, but everybody knew him as Triple H. Um, and the company now, since Vince is gone, he may have built it into a giant company and everything else. But since Vince has been gone, they've been doing better business than ever before, and probably because he's not behind the scenes stooking the help. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of graphic detail. So when ABL says stuff like, Vince McMahon, he did something inappropriate. No, it wasn't just one woman. And it wasn't just something that was minorly inappropriate. We're talking depravity here. We're talking about stuff that, like, if you go read the lawsuit or watch a video, just do a search. What did Vince McMahon do on YouTube? And with Janelle Grant, you'll get a ton of wrestling commentators that are going to break down the entirety of that story to you, and it's going to be terrible, horrible, awful, and you're going to be like, "Oh my god, no way!" I mean, now for wrestling geeks, we were all over it. We were just like, "Holy shit!" Like this is what's been going on the whole time. No, you don't understand, Devin. So I didn't even put in the kicker here yet, and I probably should have. The kicker is this: the reason why she brought forth the lawsuit was he started paying her the hush money to go away. Now he's cashed in all his. I think he's cashed in most of his stock in WWE. He's a billionaire, right? He paid her like I think it was like $2 or $3 million to go away. He stopped making payments to her. He decided he was going to stop paying her. She was like, "I'm going to go to the press." He's like, "Go ahead. Nobody's going to believe you or whatever." And she brought the receipts. She saved every text, all the pictures, like the whole 9 yards are entered into the case. Well, that's just it. It's still an unknown. So you have Janelle Grant is the main one, right? That one's the ongoing lawsuit. But back in the day, CLB, I was saying this before, Rita Chatterton, she was the only female referee that was in WWF at the time back in the 80s. And she had said that McMahon assaulted her in the back of a limo, and he ended up paying her like a million or two, or like $1.5 million, I want to say. But she was always very vocal about he did this to me and this happened and all that, and nobody ever really put stock into it. Oh, who brought the receipts? Janelle Grant, the actual accuser, brought the receipts and then released them in a very public forum. Like I said, this lawsuit has been going on for, I don't know, 6 months, 7 months, something like that. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And as somebody who's a court reporter, you'd be able to go through it and be like, oh, yeah, she's not bullshitting, or she is. You would know right away, Devin. But I mean, she entered in text messages, cell phone, like everything, whole 9 yards. So when, like I said, when McMahon said this, it wasn't just as simple as he did something no at one time or whatever. No, this went on for like a year, 2 years. It was bad because the whole thing is nobody knew they were separated, actual separated, until they just did a Netflix documentary on Vince McMahon called Mr. McMahon. And once that came up, because everybody thought he and Linda, everybody thought that maybe they might be separated, but nobody knew for sure. So, and at the time, it's pretty much assumed that they weren't separated. Like he may be saying they're separated now, but I don't think they were actually separated then when all this went on. And the fact that like okay, so when Linda McMahon was nominated the first time for the Small Business Association to be the head of it, they went pretty hard into her about Vince McMahon, WWE, right? But they didn't have all these allegations. Now they do for Secretary of Defense. So it's going to be interesting to see, like I said, if they bring it up on the Senate floor and just blast her. Let me see. Yeah, Vince McMahon will pay more than 1.7 in relation to charges that he failed to disclose payment agreements related to sexual assault charges. And that's just it, right? The whole thing was, I think the total agreement was like $3 million CLB, and he cut off paying it. And she was like, "I'm going to go public," and basically destroyed him publicly. Like, oh, why didn't you just give her the money? Like you said, it's like a drop in a bucket for him. Yes, Devin, that is pretty much what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure she knew about it. I think she's known about all his improprieties. If your husband was screwing around, would you know about it? If I was screwing around, my wife would know about it right away. Like she'd figure that shit out. Like it wouldn't take Columbo to figure it out. You know what I mean? And like you're talking about a guy who he's got it like a god complex for the most part, but you could 110% believe that like that this stuff happened. Like when everything was coming out in the lawsuit, I felt like the woman was not exaggerating. Like there's certain cases where you're like, oh, I think she might be full of shit here or lying about this. There was no point in this woman's story that it was like as crazy as it gets, you can completely believe her. Like for some reason, if you know anything about Vince McMahon, and not because of how he's portrayed on TV, just looking at the type of person he actually is. But yeah, so that was the correction on Vince McMahon, and of course, once again, just like Tony Stark's Friday, Sheree immediately just reminded me Vince McMahon. Before I get into anything else, let me go into something real quick because it is actually a 3D printing question from CLB here. I got a goddamn head cold or whatever, CLB. So let me uh, let me just give you a breakdown real quick because you were asking about resin. So as you can see, like the detail and everything in the Hulk, like I mean, right into his lat muscles, the whole 9 yards. He's probably the easiest one to show off. It's because he does. He's the sculptor, whatever. but you have different printers and different companies that make them. Now, the standard, if you're getting started, I'm going to legit, from my point of view, is the Elegoo Mars series. They're not huge printers, they're not very expensive. This was done with the Mars 5. This Hulk was done with the Mars 5. Mars 5 Ultra, I think it is. And it came out beautiful. They're solid, reliable. I've had zero issue with it. The Mars 5 now, before you used to have to unscrew and screw in the printing bed that lowers into the resin. Yeah, yeah, so, and that's correct. You have two. You have filament and you have resin. So the filament actually, my daughter came to visit with her retarded, and I mean he is retarded boyfriend or whatever, and he made my wife a gnome, and he 3D printed it, and he used PLA. Give me 1 second. Let me go grab it so I can show you the difference in quality and prints and explain to you the difference between it's called the filament's called PLA, right? That's usually the most typical type. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Let me go grab this. So he has a PLA printer, and of course the shit would be white, so you can barely see it, right? Turn off the light. If you look, you can kind of see how the light's reflecting over here. That's because the entire thing has this, even though it's mild, a very thin layer to it, like a layering to it. I don't know if you can see the layers in there. Let me see if I can get real stupid close and you can see it. But yeah, like if you run your hand down it, it's not smooth. And granted, when I first started working with PLA, I have a DaVinci 1.0, XYZ DaVinci 1.0, and it was one of the first 3D printers, and I used to work in PLA, but it had like very thick ridges, wasn't very refined. It's much better now. I mean, doesn't look bad, but when I compare it to something that's super detailed in resin, for example, like we'll use the Hulk again, right? If you look, you kind of see the detail in there, and it's not terrible, right? But the detail in the resin is unbelievable. The other thing I recommend, you can probably get an older Mars series like the Mars 4, the high end of that. Isn't very expensive now. And the one thing that does cost a bit of money, you also need a wash station and a curing station when it comes to working with resin. And the reason you need that is once it's done printing, you need to wash off excess resin, and then you use a UV light. It basically puts it on a little platform and spins it, and the UV light cures the resin to make sure it's solid. And the reason, so I use a specific brand. It costs, I think, $2 or $3 more a bottle, right? But I use water washable resin. And the reason I do this is because if not, you need to fill that wash station with 91% isopropyl rubbing alcohol. So you're dealing with a super chemical where if you're using the washable, the Elegoo washable resin, you can fill it up with just regular ass tap water and then dispose of it when it gets to too thick, do not pour it down a sink or anything like that. You have to find something almost like cooking oil. You don't want to just go pouring cooking oil down a sink. You put it in a separate container and then seal it and then dump it. But PLA has its own place. If you're making parts for something, if you're going to do something like you're doing these models or, statues or something like that, the resin is the way you want to go. If you're making a part, so like I need a specific part for something and, I can't get it, but I can design it on a computer. You use the PLA, the plastic, because it's so solid and everything else, it doesn't break very easy. The resin will snap off pretty easy on thinner pieces, and you can mass produce parts basically with the PLA. Like I'm not going to lie at all. There are designs, and I'm going to say they're out there. I'm not going to tell you where you can find them, anything like that. But if you wanted your own Glock and didn't want to go to a store and buy one, yeah, you can just print it in PLA, and it will. They designed them to a point where they will go through like a 15, 16 round clip or magazine. It's not even just new sync, dude. You're talking about something like with resin that so one of the big things with resin is that any sunlight hits it, it starts hardening. That's the UV thing to it. So you got to think if there's any kind of sunlight going down that sink or hitting that sink at all from any angle and it starts hardening in your pipe, now you've got basically resin solidifying in your sink or in those pipes. You have to take the whole damn thing apart. But yeah, minor things. You need a spring, and I think a firing mechanism basically. And yeah, you can 3D print like guns and stuff with PLA, and it won't blow apart either when you're firing it because of how fine tuned they have it now. Kind of scary, and that's where I've said, where they're trying to regulate guns and all this kind of stuff, or they were talking about taking away people's guns. You're never going to be able to do it. It's done. Like the only thing you could probably do is ban ammunition, and people make their own ammunition. So you're kind of screwed once ghost guns became a thing. Like once 3D printing was able to replicate a gun, it's over. People just make their own stuff. Wolverine claws. Actually, to tell you the truth, I had a pair of them at one point. I kid you not. I did. They were like brass knuckles, and they had the claw on them, and they were pretty cool. I had them displayed for a while there. The only problem is, like, your arms get tired, and if you're getting old like me, which you are, then you wear out after a couple punches. But yeah, like I said, trying to keep it kind of fast. Goddamn crud! I really want to get this damn thing done. Get on to the next project or start turning everything black so I can start new projects. I'm sitting there powering down OJ, hoping it kicks in. Need a Dayquil, waiting for that to kick in. Um, so, good lord, I'm trying to think where to go next. Oh yeah, that was the other thing that got skipped over. Pete Hexeth. Pete Hexeth, and I'm pretty sure I posted in the Discord the video of JD Vance taking down, like going all in on Europe, which I can get into. I don't know if ABL covered that or not, but ABL skipped this on the Wednesday show, and I could not believe he skipped it. And then I started to realize, thinking back, if something happens on a Wednesday, he doesn't pay attention to it. He only pays attention to it like if it happened earlier on the weekend or something. So I don't know if he's busy or, living life or whatever. But when it's like breaking news that happened earlier in the day, he has no goddamn clue about what happened. And Pete Hegseth was over and he was addressing, I guess it was somebody over in Europe, like some group of people over in Europe. And he basically laid out that the Ukraine war, where it sits, we're pretty much dealt out on it. Like we're done with it. And the big thing that he laid out was that if Europe, because Europe apparently is pissed off that we're talking about not funding the war and that we're demanding that Zelensky and them pay us like in minerals or what have you. He turned around and he was just like, look, not only that, we're going to cut off our arms to them, this kind of stuff. But if you guys want, it doesn't affect us. We have, and Trump's been saying this, we have an ocean in between us. You guys, if you want to keep this war going or whatever, that's fine. You can send as much funding as you want. If you guys send troops in, because the Europeans, I guess, were threatening to send troops in to help protect the front line of Ukraine, he said, then you guys go in on your own, basically. He goes, Article 5, we are not, it does not apply. If you decide that you want to get involved in this physically on the ground, we are not going to war for Ukraine. Period. End of sentence. And like, that was the first thing, like, Europeans were like, I guess, apparently, some of them were really, really pissed over it. I don't know if Black Anomaly Rising covered it. He did cover the next thing, which was the next thing that happened was JD Vance goes over and he's addressing him, and he went full on in on he went full in. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me look, Devin. Just because you said that, now you got me looking. I got to see if Black Anomaly Rising because I'm not gonna lie, up and comer, anything that breaks, man, that dude is on it like he's on it like a fly on shit. Like he doesn't screw around at all. I really really enjoy his content. He's pretty open and up the middle. He doesn't, you know. I don't want to say anything bad about ABL. I really like him. You know, I can criticize certain stuff, but I can't really blast him too hard. Like it's just sometimes he gets arrogant. That's the best way I can put it. Um, like he knows and he doesn't, because that's going to bring up the next point, which was Ivan being kind of right on his call. So the whole thing was Elon Musk and them went in and they investigated the SOSAC. The thing is, and this is what I think Ivan failed to articulate because he's kind of an asshole. Um, I'm sitting there. I'm looking at Black Anomaly Rising right now. I'm looking at his channel to see. Let's see. He's got Trumpet NASCAR. Oh yeah. I gotta. I might actually play that and just play the audio through my thing so you guys can hear it. But that was the other thing that ABL half covered. That, like I said, kind of an ABL fill-in show. It doesn't look like he covered the Hexeth thing. Um, let me see. Um, okay, so it was NATO that Hexeth was talking. I really wish like I could figure out how the hell to play videos on here. Um, that was 8 days ago. That's like an hour. But or no, there you go. There's one of the Associated Press covered it 100 or 1 minute 23 seconds. Um, hold on. Let me see. This is going to sound like crap, I think. Actually, you know what? Maybe I can do it this way. Do. Warning for anybody with headphones on. I'm going to warn you right now because I don't know how loud or how quiet this shit is going to come through the headset. I don't know if it's going to echo. I don't know what's going to happen here because it's the first time I'm going to attempt this bullshit. As soon as I find my damn headphone port in the side of this tablet. Where the hell is the headphone? Oh, you bastard. You know what? Let me do it with my cell phone instead. Um, Trying to get this stuff where I can actually like wait, he had high water oh my god. Really? Goddamn JD Vance. Alright, let's see. Should be able to play the damn audio through my cell phone. Hopefully this works. That's headset. I'm assuming it's going to be this one. Like I said, possibly rip headphone users. So you guys are going to have to keep me updated in real time.
Try Free Tax USA this year to get the same tax refund without.
Dear Lord, that about blew my eardrums out.
We want, like you, a sovereign and prosperous Ukraine.
Can you guys hear this okay?
But we must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective. Chasing this illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more suffering. A durable peace for Ukraine must include robust security guarantees to ensure that the war will not begin again. This must not be Minsk 3.0. That said,
all right, I'm pausing it right there. Do you guys know what what he meant by Minsk 3.0 is? I'm just curious, like what the Minsk Accords were about. I mean, they were very, very simple. Okay, so the Minsk Accords honestly would have prevented this entire war. Everything that happened over in Ukraine. What the Minsk Accords were, it was basically Russia agreed not to take any more. And when I say any more is because they had already seized a chunk under Obama. I think it was Crimea they took under Obama of Ukraine. And so they had drawn up the Minsk Accords, which was a peace agreement saying that basically Russia would no longer invade them or mess with them. And their whole big thing was you can't join NATO. Like Russia's big thing was as long as you agree that you're not going to join NATO. The United States decided to advise them that it was a bad deal and not to sign it. That was Ukraine they advised not to sign it. And of course, it fell through. They tried it again. the United States and Europe once again interfered and said, no, 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 don't sign that. And, well, Joe Biden got in office and we saw what happened. Ukraine's been devastated, gotten the crap completely kicked out of them. So they came to the table twice now with this Minsk Accord crap. But that's what Hexeth is basically saying there is, it's got to be a long-lasting deal. It can't be the Minsk Accords where everything goes to peace for like a year or two, and then you guys go to the table, say, no, we're not doing this, and then start the war back up. Because this crap has been going on for a while. Like, this stuff has been going on, like I said, since Obama, right? Where Russia will go and hit them and take like a chunk of their stuff. Now, they seized the Donbass region basically now, but they're slowly taking over Ukraine. And this all could have been prevented with the Minsk Accords, because the whole thing with the Minsk Accords was Ukraine wouldn't have been in NATO, but NATO backed it, or should have backed it, and they didn't. They screwed them on it. Because that's been Vladimir Putin's big deal, is he doesn't want, he's already got missiles on one side of him from Poland aimed at him. He doesn't want Ukraine, which is right there on his goddamn border, with nukes pointed at him, or any kind of like heavy artillery, And people talking about, a lot of people have been talking about this, and it drives me nuts. About, well, Ukraine was supposed to lose the war immediately. Yeah, we sent them a shit ton of money, everything else. Now, not only did we send them money, arms, and all this kind of stuff, so did Europe. For our money and our arms, half of it, Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, has flat out said he doesn't know where half of the money went. So wait a minute. Let me understand this, my guy. We send you $350 billion, and you're saying that $175 billion of it, you don't know where it is? That's a lot of money to displace. So I guarantee there's people with their pockets lined that shouldn't have them lined. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, the dumbass region is really what it should be called. You're not wrong, Devin. But yeah, so Hexeth was like, there's no returning the Ukraine back to what it was. There is no going back. This shit's already happened. Like, basically, Russia's keeping their fucking land that they took. Like, flat out. We're not helping you get that stuff back. Like, we're not going in there to fight a war. And you're not pulling some Minsk Accord 3 shit where you're going to say you're going to the table and not going to the table. You're either taking peace or you're not. And so, here we go. Let's continue with Mr. Hegseth.
The United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. Instead, any security guarantee must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. If these troops are deployed as peacekeepers to Ukraine at any point, they should be deployed as part of a non-NATO mission, and they should not be covered under Article 5. There also must be robust international oversight of the line of contact. To be clear, as part of any security guarantee, there will not be U.S. troops deployed to Ukraine.
So there you go. That's what he said. And I could not believe that it was not covered on ABL Live like a week ago. He said that. Let me see. When the hell was that video? Go back and look. But yeah, like flat out, we're not deploying troops. If you guys want to get involved, you can't sit there and, like, we're going to play peacekeeper. Oh, they kicked the shit out of us. Oh no, the U.S., you're going to have to come help us because it's under NATO Article 5. It's like, no, we're not helping you. You guys are screwed. You're on your own. That was 8 days ago that happened. So that happened on a Wednesday. Not yesterday, but a week ago, right? Wednesday. And he didn't cover it at all. And I was like, dude, aren't you going to cover Hexeth? Nope. Too hard. had to watch the news today. But yeah, one of those things. Like it was brilliant. Let me see. Where is Mr. Anomaly Rising? I actually turned the volume all the way the hell down so you guys can't hear it. And let me go find, because he actually clipped the damn video. But ABL did play part of this video. And yeah, he didn't play all of the video. If I can actually, like, yeah, I'll tell you what. I don't know how you guys deal with YouTube on a cell phone. Like, I always deal with it on my PC. I always deal with it. I always deal with it on like either my PC or my tablet. I on the cell phone, it's terrible. But yeah, the woke EU stuff, that stuff was hysterical. Let's see. Yeah, I had said it was like Dave Rubin, I think, when we were watching this live, but it wasn't. It was what should I call it? Really? Nobody covered that Hexet stuff? That's insane. Yeah, I saw it when it happened. But this one, ABL did cover, but like I said, he cut the video off. And I was like, really, dude? You didn't even do the best part of this. Let me see.
Yeah, even if they are more likely to identify as Republicans, they're still far more liberal than
All
the
right.
men of generations before them. And I think that that's something that would.
So this was Clay Travis, some other dude, and they were talking about how Democrats nowadays, the reason why younger men are identifying with Republicans over Democrats is because they're not as masculine. And Dave, or Clay Travis goes off, and it's hysterical when he does. Here we go.
That would surprise a lot of young women like myself to hear that. I was surprised.
So what is it that we're missing about, or what is it that people who are not, as Magdalene said, people who don't understand why? That's my first question.
All right, here comes Clay Travis.
Okay, so what I would start with is men aspire to be bigger, stronger, and faster than we are, almost universally.
Facts.
That's why superheroes are popular. That's why pro athletes are popular. Who is the most masculine Democrat right now in America?
Really? You're gonna kick in and add? Really?
In the open,
wow.
Powerful feats of strength.
This is what I get for not having an ad blocker on my phone.
Right now in America.
And there's
Mayor Pete.
Is that a gay joke?
No, Mayor Pete. No, well, no, it's just that he's not particularly masculine. Nobody's like, oh, Mayor Pete, he's a badass. Chuck Schumer. Is anybody like, hey, Chuck Schumer holding up an avocado and a beer to talk about the Super Bowl? Is anybody like that trying to grill? Is anybody like, hey, that's a dude I want to hang out with?
But Trump's like a grandpa.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Trump took a bullet in his ear and immediately stood up and said, fight, fight, fight. Every man in America and most of the women out here were impressed by that, even if the women won't admit it. She's shaking her head strong. And second part of this, basically summing it up, Democrats for men are pussies, and Republicans
Democrats for men
are pussies. There are no masculine men in the Democrat Party right now.
Now, obviously, for those of you all who've been
oh, Jesus Christ. They were not ready for that pack bomb. Like, he just threw that out, like, it's just straight up. And that's why more young men are identifying as Republicans. I don't know if that was on TV. It was some kind of conference. I don't know if it was a turning point or something like this. I'm going to say it probably wasn't a turning point. But yeah, flat out. He was just like, because they're pussies. They're PU 55 wise. But ABL played that video and then cut it when he was like, because Trump took a bullet in the ear and then stood up and yelled, fight, fight, fight. And ABL cut it right there. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You cut the best part of that entire him going off. There you DNC convention, like CPAC. Yeah, it might have been CPAC. It could have been CPAC. I don't know. Like I said, Black Anomaly Rising, he covered that as soon as it happened. I caught that. The Hexeth thing, honestly, for some reason, I want to say I saw it on Jimmy Dore's show. I think that's where I heard it. Now, like Jimmy Dore, I don't agree with everything that man says, but he's pretty damn honest. Even if you don't agree with him, he's just an honest person. Like, he'll even be honest about, like, he was pushing the hell out of the vaccine when that first happened. And then, yeah, turned around and got vaccine injured and then immediately went on the warpath about it. Was just like, yeah, this is, and then not long after that, they came out and said that it didn't prevent transmission. He's like, why the hell did I even take it? I got injured from it, everything else. And, why did I even bother with this shit? I mean, like, legitimately, and he's not wrong, but he's got some rough takes on certain things. There's definitely stuff that he's pretty damn pro union. I'm not very pro union. I see that as a way of strong arming people when you're not doing any work. Like if you're lazy as hell and you're in a union, they cover you the same way they do anybody who's working hard, I think it should all be a meritocracy where if you work hard, you get pushed to the moon. Take CLB in the. All right, so maybe I should tell you guys a couple stories about CLB. Since he's in the chat, and I know he's in the chat and he's listening, and because he's gonna laugh when I tell one or two of them. But the way I met CLB was when I started working at Blockbuster. And so we're going back to what, 2000? I think it was like Y2K. I met CLB. And CLB was just, regular registered jockey or what have you. And yeah, CLB, oh God, here we go. And CLB wanted to get keys in his hand to the store. He wanted to go up to the next level, which is the shift lead, which is what I was at first. And then I went to an assistant manager within like a month, CLB. And then they decided they were going to open a new location in a brand new store. Like, I mean, brand new, like we had to paint the walls in that place brand new. Hang, stock all the videos and put up shelving and everything in there because it was mom and pop franchisee. And I was in competition with another store manager for the job. I ended up getting the job. Well, the whole thing was that CLB was, like I said, he wanted to go up a notch, and I pushed for him to go up one notch, and I got it there. When I left, I named him as my replacement to the person who was in charge of that store. I was like, look, you need two assistant managers in here to run it. I nominate him to go up that notch. And they're like, nah, I can't see him being an assistant manager. I can't see. So I was just like, okay, really? All right, no problem. Bet. So I ended up beating out this guy who was already running the store to become a store manager and got the new location. They told me to name my assistant manager. And I called CLB up. I said, hey, CLB, yo, I need an assistant. You up for the job? So he came, he interviewed, and they were like, this is who you want? I said, yeah, this is who I want. This is the guy who would, take over my place, everything else if I end up quitting. So, yeah, CLB became my assistant manager. And he was a great assistant manager. And I trained him, and he should have been a store manager. And they didn't give it to him. They were like, well, we got a store opening here, for a store manager. He was like, okay, I want to try it. And they're like, nah, we don't see it. What do you mean you guys don't see it? You said he couldn't be an assistant manager. He's been a perfect assistant manager. So they screwed him on that. So CLB told him, hey, you know what? I got better opportunities in other places, and went off to GameStop, where he got hired in as an assistant manager to train out to be a store manager immediately. Yeah, CLB was my attack dog too. Like he legit was. So one of the funny stories when we worked together, actually the funniest story. It and it's hard to describe really, but there was this big old board that was behind the counter, and you had these signs that hung on there. And these signs were heavy plastic things, and it would say like returns here, checkout, stuff like that. But it was this big, we called it a menu board because, like in McDonald's, it looked like a McDonald's menu board where, it's like, oh, you want a hamburger and it has the price with it. It had all the listings out for, daily late fees, for how much something was to rent, like if you want to rent a new release, you get 2 days, blah, 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 blah. And it also had coming soon, and you'd list all the coming soon stuff. So we're changing out the board to one day. Now, CLB is a skateboarder and had busted his arm. So his arm's already in a sling. And I'm up on a ladder and I'm changing out the signage. And there's this big, heavy sign, and I can't remember what it was for. I want to say it was for, God, what the hell was it, CLB? Was it like coming soon or something like that? But it was this big, heavy sign that had these two hooks in the back that hooked onto the main menu board. And they were like loose, and it was hanging up there or whatever. And out of nowhere, it fell and caught him right in the top of the head. And we watched the video back because I was like, dude, I swear to God, I didn't bump it or anything. It just fell from, I guess, me shaking the board, changing out the inserts. It was coming soon, right? So there's this big old word bubble coming soon. It falls down. It catches him right in the top of the head. He takes 3 steps one way, 3 steps the other way, and it just goes boom, and knocked him cold on the floor. A customer walks up to the register. I have to ring him up. I'm ringing him up, and he's like, "Is that guy okay?" And CLB's laying on the ground going, "Oh." I walk over. I kicked him in the gut twice, like not hard, just tapped him with my foot. Said that, and he goes, "Oh." I go, "He'll be fine. He'll be all right." Yeah, it was hysterical though, because it literally hit him in the head, and it was one of those, I got my balance, 1, 2, 3, I got my balance, 1, 2, 3, and all of a sudden he was just like, thump, like, oh my God. So, like I said, CLB kind of got screwed. They weren't going to make him a store manager, and respect to them, at least they told him, hey, we're not making you a store manager, so he was able to go find something else and saying, maybe in the future if something opens up, I don't think you're ready now, and like just stringing them along and bullshitting them. No, they flat out told him, no, you're not going to be a store manager. So he went off to GameStop. So eventually when I quit, and I told them to go, pound sand up their ass because they weren't paying me much and all this, and it was just, I could see the business failing. I told the owner, I was like, yeah, I've been watching Netflix, and I don't think, I've been watching our business model, and I keep the books. I don't think it's a sustainable business model. It's going to fail. The owner told me I didn't know what I was talking about and everything else. Yeah, look who's running that shit now. I think it's Netflix. I think I wasn't wrong. But I called CLB up just to let him know, hey man, I quit GameStop. I quit Blockbuster. I'm done. CLB goes, hey, man, let me give you a call back in a couple minutes. I said, all right, no problem. CLB calls me back and goes, yeah, you have an interview with the district manager in a week. Here's the time, here's the place, it's going to be at this store, blah, blah, blah. I said, CLB, I didn't even ask you. He goes, no, I got your back, brother. And so, legitimately, my entire GameStop career is due to CLB being solid and everything else. Yeah, we could have won funniest video with that damn thing. You're not wrong, CLB. So, CLB and I worked. They started me off in the store with CLB. Now, CLB was the assistant manager. They already had a store manager in there, a lady named Lisa, nice person and all that. Little, I don't want to talk bad on her because she was good people and she was nice to us. A little loopy, I guess is the best way of putting it. A little odd, like making sandwiches without any bread. Wasn't exactly the sharpest bulb in the chandelier, sharpest knife in the drawer. She was sharp as a bowling ball in some certain cases, but good person, right? So they didn't have any store manager positions, which is what CLB initially put me in for because the district manager that was over us, a guy named Don, he had stacked all the manager and training positions. So any stores that were opening up, that they immediately get the store. They're in contention to get the store or whatever. He had filled all those spots because I think he could carry 4 of them with people that he worked with in KB Toy and Hobby, which is where he came from. So all the upcoming managers basically were KB Toy and Hobby ex-employees, store managers that worked for him before. He brought his own damn people in, is basically the way it went. But that store manager, it was Madden, and I guess it was Madden 2001, maybe 2002 launch. The day before that shit happened, and I mean, it's like what at the time it was one of the biggest launches, period, end of sentence, because Call of Duty hadn't come out yet, so it was Madden, and our store manager went missing. When I say missing, I mean missing, like could not find her anywhere. Phone calls from the DM, phone calls from us. She wasn't showing up for shifts. She just disappeared, and nobody knew what happened to her. She actually did call into the store while I was working the one day and talk to me after the whole Madden launch and all that, and explained to me that she honestly went a little loopy and checked herself into a mental institution. And she was going to quit. She told me that ahead of time. So what ended up happening was CLB and I ran the entire thing, and it was hysterical because we fell into line, even though our ranks, like now CLB is a higher rank than I am, but we still did it just like we did at Blockbuster. And we had one of the most successful out of everybody in the district. We had one of the most successful Madden launches for the night. And the DM was like, I don't know how you guys pulled this off. I was like, Brian, CLB and I worked together before. And yeah, this is, it was just like, bam, we knew how to play off each other. We knew how each other thought. We just hammered it out. So we got through it. And I'm pretty sure, didn't you become a store manager, CLB? Yeah, that's right. I forgot about you having to go to the Hood in Philly to get the fucking Madden games. Yeah, we were the Avengers. Yeah, I mean, I've gone through my entire GameStop career, I think, on here before, and I don't want to bore people. But yeah, CLB, like honestly, my crazy little brother. We pulled off a ton of shit that we probably shouldn't have been able to. We got ahead when we probably shouldn't have been able to and everything else, but it's because we relied on each other. I always had faith in him. I could see what he could do, just nobody was willing to give him a chance. And, we're not talking, that's one of those things that pissed me off with the DEI thing is, it's fine. You look at people for who they are. You accentuate their strengths, hide their weaknesses, or help them better them, and so they're not weak at all, right? And nobody's going to grow to be a better person if you're handing somebody everything because of their skin tone. That should not matter. If they're, if they worship Allah instead of fucking Jesus, you know, you shouldn't judge them on that. You should judge them on how are they? How what kind of workload do they put in? Do they actually give a fuck? That is the big thing. Do they actually care? So many people that, I want to work at GameStop. Why? Because then I get to check out games. Well, you don't actually care about your job. You just care about checking out the games, dude. Like, you're not going to go up the ranks. If you don't care about going up the ranks, that's great because everybody needs a cashier. But, I wanted people that were going to go up, and CLB would put in that overtime. Like he said, he said in the comments, he was my attack job or my attack dog. And he really, like, legitimately was my attack dog. Like, if I needed people with overdue accounts, stuff like this, and they were going to get sent off to a creditor or whatever, he was the one who called them up. And, like, legitimately, it was almost like sending somebody to break somebody's thumbs. And nobody wanted to do that job. And CLB did it the first time. The lady cried on the phone to him. And I'm, like, listening to the phone call because he's got it on speaker. And I'm like, oh, shit, here we go. CLB is going to be like, oh, the hell with this. And he's like, ma'am, blah, 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 and went in on it. And then she's like, okay, I'll be in to pay later. And she came in and paid later. And he's like, as soon as he hung up that phone, he was like, man, that was fun. And I'm like, God damn, you're a different type of dude, aren't you? Like, you're a completely different type of dude because most people are like, I feel terrible and all this. CLB was just like, send me your tears. Pour them in a cup. I will drink them and eat them and eat a sandwich with them. Just, I have no mercy. Oh, dear Lord. God damn it. uh, yeah, well, I mean, that's just it. The whole thing is, like, I come on here and I'm just some asshole on the internet, right? So I could be telling you guys stories and just lying or whatever, making stuff up to make myself sound good or what have you. I think I'm pretty up the middle and pretty humble about stuff, but I'm also very honest about other people. Like, the people that I've encountered in my life, like when I used to tell people all the time, I got a 7-foot friend who's training to be a pro wrestler, wants me to be his mouthpiece as a manager, all this kind of stuff. People like, oh, you're full of shit. You don't have a 7-foot friend. All right, whatever, dude. Then they'd come out to, like a bar or something where I'm shooting pool, and there's my big dog with me, hanging out or whatever, or working the door, and they're like, and then he starts talking to him about pro wrestling and how he's going to be a and they're just like, wow, you weren't lying. Like, no shit, I wasn't lying, dude. Like, I don't, I'm pretty even handed and tell you kind of how it happened. And hopefully it'll always stay that way because that's just me. I don't know how to be somebody else. And at this point, I'm too old to give a shit to be somebody else to try and impress somebody that I don't know. You know what I mean? Um, I'm trying to remember. I had other stuff. What was it? With all my lore, I need a movie. I don't know anybody would watch that movie. Although it is kind of like it's weird because I swear to God, it could have been a Kevin Smith film if I did. Like, it would just be just over the top, ridiculous. Because the saddest part is, as I get older, the lore starts to go away. Like, it does. Like, I haven't seen CLB probably in what, 15 years? Would you say 15, 20 years? Somewhere in there. I'm too old to give a shit merch idea. That's actually not a bad idea, Sheree. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm too old to give a shit. Not I'm too old for this shit. I'd get sued. But, I'm too old to give a shit. It's the God honest truth. Um, yeah, I mean, it's sad because, like I said, I haven't seen CLB in like 20 years. It's been like 20 years, and just some of the stuff. The best part is catching up with somebody who was around way back when, because they'll tell stories or say something and it triggers something within you, and all of a sudden you remember a story, like that story about the sign falling on his head. I remember that clear as day. I can remember us watching the video. We must have watched that video like 15 times, including with our district manager, a guy named John, and laughing our asses off, all of us. But it takes CLB to come in and just to even trigger that story. And there's certain friends of mine that, God rest them, I'll never, like, there's some of their stories will carry forward with me forever. Others just disappear. Like, it's sad. I forgot about that one. The snowball fight where I packed up the one snowball. Like, it wasn't a nice ball, but it was a good packing on that snowball. And man, I sidearm chucked that thing and hit him square in his nuts. Just dropped him. Yep. And there goes Sheree. Tell more. Tell us how tell us about the asshole things that GAM did. Tell us about the insanity of GAM. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, that's just it. When it came to career wise and all that stuff, looking back on it, retail and all that, when I was really into retail, CLB was with me for, I'm going to say, what, 75% of it? Somewhere, always floating around. Devin's got her popcorn. We're fucked now. You need a longer stream time. Oh my god. Yeah, it's around 70% that, we didn't work in the same store always. We'd just be in the same company or chewing the same dirt, what have you. Oh, what's up, Danny Boss? We were just talking about the EU. You missed it. Discussing America, like, I mean, I guess that's the next place I can go with this. Is JD Vance making the EU, the German guy, cry, which was fucking hysterical. But Danny, I will say this for you now. I'm going to say this because Danny just jumped in, right? I'm sorry, man. I am 110% sorry. I started following up after watching the Pete Hegseth thing with Ukraine and telling NATO to basically, hey, look, we're not getting involved in this shit. And then the JD Vance thing, where he told them, like, you guys are going away from the value of free speech and all this. I didn't realize, like, I knew shit was getting bad over there. I didn't realize just how bad things are. Because the follow-up to the JD Vance thing that everybody's been playing is the CBS video where they're like, police are headed to this apartment to arrest 6 people, and this is in Germany. And what was their crime? Their crime was they posted a racist meme on the internet. So I looked up what that racist meme was because, I thought it might be some Klan-related material or, hey, the Nazis were right or some sick shit like this, right? No, that's not what they got arrested for. The meme that the guy posted was high power lines in a field. And it said, immigrant children playground. That's what they arrested those 6 people for. That's what that meme was. You guys, it's terrible. Like, I mean, it's awful. I can say this: Trump's an asshole. I can say this: Joe Biden is a complete piece of shit. Right? I can say these things. There's no knock at my goddamn door. Nobody's going to take me out of here in handcuffs. You know what? The German chancellor is a complete dickbag. I can say that. If Danny Boss were to say something like that, they can show up at his house and fucking arrest him. What kind of fucking bullshit is this? They call it thought crime. Like, wait a minute, you're going to tell me how I can think now? That is, you guys have fallen to a point of authoritarianism where, my God, it's almost like Hitler did win the war. To be honest with you. Which part don't you get, Dev? This is, yeah, I can't fathom it either, Sheree. I'm like you. Like, how, I mean, just look at the shit they've said about Trump. Just, I mean, I want you to really, like, objectively, regardless if you hate the man. You can love the man, you can hate the man, you can be somewhere in between, right? But just look at the shit they say on the news about him. He's an authoritarian dictator. He's, this, that, and a third. He's the next Hitler. He's, the Antichrist. They call him all this shit. How the hell does your news report anything? And then one of the other kickers was this, because this came up while I was searching. Oh, you don't get the power lines in it. Basically telling the immigrant kids that they should go play on the power lines, to shock them to death, to electrocute them and kill them. And they said that was the racist meme. Right? And you're not wrong. We'd all be serving life terms for some of the shit that's come out of my mouth just on Trump. Let alone Biden. But so in Romania, apparently they had an election. The basically what would equate to the right winger won. They turned around and they threw the election out. They said there was Russian disinformation, quote unquote, in the election. And they threw the election results out. Legitimately, the right winger won, and they basically overthrew the election. So this is where it's headed. At first, that's fine. You can send the police over here. Make sure it's Officer McIntyre. I'm kind of friendly with him. He's a good guy. He used to come in and visit me all the time on the midnight shift on Walgreens. Yeah, what's going on with Europe right now is actually a bit off-putting and terrifying when you really look into it. The people that are in power are almost making sure that they remain in power, and the citizens aren't liking it. Like, not at all. When you look at somebody like Danny Boss here, like, it just everybody give him, a little bit of grace, I guess, with his take on Muslims and stuff like that and all that, because he can say it in this form because, well, only a few people watch this shit, and he can actually get that stuff off his chest. But legitimately, one of the other cases that had come up was a man outside of an abortion clinic. He was 50 feet, 50 yards, I can't remember, from the abortion clinic, was standing there with his head bowed in silent prayer. And a cop walked up to him and said, "What are you doing?" He said, I'm silently praying for the loss of life that's going on in that clinic right now." And the cop arrested him and took him to fucking jail. For what? Thought crime. I'll tell you something. There was a point in time where France was the elites in controlling class kind of did this shit to their people. Do you know what happened to those elites? They took them out into the streets and they set up guillotines and they took their heads off. It's coming. Europe is a powder keg, I'm going to say. Looking into this, the citizenry is eventually going to revolt. It's a matter of time. Yeah, I don't even call you an Islamophobe. I can't call you an Islamophobe. I knew a guy who fought in Vietnam who one of the people, and now he's passed away now, but one of our dear friends, a guy named Saban, he is Vietnamese from Vietnam who immigrated over to America legally. And the two of them, they were brothers. Like they were like blood brothers. And it took the one guy a while to really get close with him, but they were like best friends. It can change, Danny. Like, I don't think you're an Islamophobe. I think you're just disgusted with what's happening to your country, and you can see the people that are doing it to the country, but are powerless to do it, to do anything against it, because otherwise you'll be in jail. Yeah, I'm telling you what, Europe, like, I don't know. I couldn't do it. I can't. I just can't. Like, I don't understand. They used to be, like America, the shining city on the hill or whatever bullshit they used to say about America, right? It's because it was different and all this stuff. But Europe was very free speech, very progressive, I guess is the way it's supposed to say, it's supposed to be, but it's become regressive. It's become actually depressing. Kind of breaks your heart. Yeah, and that's just it. You don't have a phobia. You're not afraid of it. You just see it as and to be honest with you, it's when you really look at it, it's not entirely their fault either, Danny. It's the people and I hate to say ruling class, but it's your elected officials that are doing it to you. It's not even those people are just like, I mean, look at it at the reverse. If you're living in total squalor in a shithole and somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, you know what? We're going to give you privilege and you're going to be above anything. And basically, we won't even arrest you if you're in a rape gang. And we're going to give you like a nice place to live in a decent, a decent, well-educated place and all this. And we're going to subsidize you and give you extra monies and stuff like that." And you're like looking around and you're like, "Well, I've got a broken toilet, so I have to piss in this bucket and throw it out this window that's also broken, in a house with 12 crackheads sleeping on the floor nightly. I think I'll take your offer, sir." Like I think I'll take you up on that offer. Yeah, I was going to say CLB, I think, has been over to England. We have a mutual friend over there, a man named Tut, who he's a good dude. He does some amazing computer work and actually bicycle work too. Yes, absolutely. You can send over a quick audio. I'm sick like an animal. That's why I'm not really painting. I'm like You can probably tell with the way I'm talking and everything else, my head is foggy as all hell. Like, I haven't been this off since I smoked some really, really good Kush back in the day. Just make sure, Danny, you let me know when you send the audio, because last time I think you sent an audio, never told me. But like you told me you were going to do an audio, didn't tell me when it was done, and I didn't play it. So make sure you let me know. But yeah, it actually is kind of heartbreaking to me, to be honest with you, because I saw not Europe is better than us, but I saw them as like even, and it's it's worse than I could have imagined. Like, it's bad. Hmm. While Danny's sending over the audio, I'll cover it real quick. So on the phone call last night with ABL, Ivan was talking about them auditing the SOSEC, right? I'm going to tell you right now, they got some stuff wrong on that because they used different programming languages to interface and didn't use a converter. I can tell you that because when I was in high school, I had to learn COBOL, and you have to convert that shit out for it to work on modern computers or use pure COBOL programming. And apparently, Social Security was programmed in COBOL back in the day. And therefore, because you didn't need like the super, it was the best database time, databasing tool at the time, or language at the time. But honestly, it sucks for today. It doesn't account for a lot of things. So they did get some stuff wrong. But where Ivan was 108, so he was kind of right if he mentioned that at all, and I can't remember. I just wanted to throw that little tidbit in there. But where Ivan was right is there are certain federal regulations that things have to abide to. And if you don't include them in what you're auditing, right? Like, so if somebody comes in to audit, they have to be able to know all the compliance with something like, does this comply with federal law? Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. The people they have auditing, if they don't know what that federal law is and overlook it, they're going to find corruption when it isn't corrupt. It's actually baked into the system, and we have to change the system, if that makes sense to you. And ABL just kind of dismissed Ivan out of hand because I don't know if Ivan was stating it correctly or what, but ABL just kind of dismissed him like, you don't know what you're talking about. Ivan actually did have a point, and it's sad because ABL did just tell him to basically put it right up his ass. But then it goes into, here's the thing, I don't know everything. There's shit I got to research. There's shit that I'll watch, I'll remember part of it, not all of it. Human memory is an interesting thing. It's flawed. Now, some of those experiences and stuff like that are burned into me where my memory, I can tell you down to, the color somebody's shirt was at the time. There's other experiences where I half-ass it, so to speak, or I half-ass remember it. And I'm sure you guys are like that too, where there's certain stuff that you remember, but you don't quite remember everything to do with it. Like, wasn't there, blah, 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 whatever. But there, there is certain stuff like that where I don't think I know everything, all that. Sometimes ABL gets a little too carried away with that kind of shit. He needs to calm down sometimes. Like, you're not the arbiter of truth. You are not the end all be all. You are, you know what I mean? You're not God. You don't remember everything perfectly, and you don't go into everything perfectly. And that's why I do like little things like, let me tell you about Vince McMahon, or let me tell you about, because you didn't expound on things. And that's the only thing I find disappointing, to be honest with you, with him. But I love I love going to that show just to bullshit with you guys. If I wasn't sick last night, I'd have been in there joking around. But it seemed like, I'm not going to lie at all, I kind of watched last night's show and fast forwarded through, I'm going to say 90% of it. Like, let's talk about, and I was like, oh, and, all right, next. Oh, next. Oh. And I was reading all the comments and stuff, and it seems like you guys were having a good time. As a matter of fact, I saw Steve Kerfuffle was in there. I was like, oh shit, Steve's back. Good to see him. Good to know he's all right. I just realized too, I haven't painted a drop tonight, and I'm not going to. And still, you guys are tuned in and listening for some odd reason. I think this place is starting to become like Cheers. Like you just want to go where everybody knows your name. CLB, you can't say good shit. You can't say that, because all that comes to my mind is not a problem, not a problem. Good shit, good shit, good deal, good deal. We had, so our district manager when we worked at Blockbuster was a guy named John, like I said. And John was he was a homunculus. Like he was a proportionally sized midget, basically. And he had a very high pitched voice, and he talked just like this. And like I'd do it to his face, and he would get so pissed at me. Good guy, really, actually, very smart guy, very good guy, hardworking guy, and everything else. But one of his big things would be like, hey John, we just broke last month's income. You know, like we're up over last month. Good deal, good deal. Yeah, he did. He sounded like Mr. Hanky. Howdy ho. He'd be like, but he used to say it. Good deal, good deal. Not a problem, not a problem, good deal. Not a problem, good deal. Good shit. And he would talk like that fast and everything. It was hysterical. And then early on, CLB said something. And I said I was going to address it. And here you go, back to the human memory being, kind of shitty and spotty. So CLB mentioned Frunaz, the irresistible candy with the irresistible taste. We had this guy who came in, and he literally was that flea market candy guy, right? He would distribute candy to the different places, and he had all kinds of different little novelty items, tchotchke items, I think they call them. And like he had dirty keychains and stuff like that. But he would comment on some of the girls I had working for me and be like, oh, that girl's pretty and everything else. And he had a southern drawl. So he'd come in and he'd go, Frunaz, this is it, boys, right here. You heard of now and later, right? Yeah, but now and later ain't got nothing on Frunaz. Frunaz, it's an irresistible candy with an irresistible taste. Ain't nothing better than Frunaz, and it goes real good in the Mexican market. All right. How much is it for a thing of them? It's $10. $10 my price. $10 my price. $20 anywhere else. $10 my price. They cost 10 cents each, and you get 250 of them in a jar, and Frunaz, it's irresistible. Once you eat one, you can't stop eating them. They're irresistible. So that's why the CLB said Frunaz, the irresistible candy with the irresistible taste, because it became a fucking huge joke between us that we had this jar of candy that sold maybe 10 of them. And those 10 of them came from basically me and CLB, like, let's try the different flavors. And this shit sat like plastic. It must have turned to plastic. It tasted like plastic. It sat there on the goddamn counter. And we're just like, every time we saw it, Frunaz! Yeah, and you know what? CLB just said it. He brought us in this specialized beef jerky, and this is back in the day when, like nowadays, you can go to a supermarket and you got Jack Links, right, or whatever, and they got like 50 different flavors of beef jerky, right? He came in and it was this local vendor that he was getting it from. And this beef jerky, he had teriyaki, he had like basically all the flavors you have now, but he had them way back in like early 2000. And he had brought them into us, and we're like, all right, I guess we'll deal with this. And it honestly was killer beef jerky. It was like, holy shit, this is really good. Mister, I think you're lying. Good to see you, by the way. I don't think it was specialized beef jerky is your only name's handle. I thought it was toes and hose. Oh, the Slim Jims? I got one for you. You had to say Slim Jim with CLB in the chat, right? All right, Danny, I'll play it right as soon as I'm done this story. Um, so you know the extra long Slim Jims? We had them on the counter. We were selling them too. And CLB joking around one day, we're screwing around or whatever in the store. He picks them up because we're slap fighting or whatever, and he grabs two of them and he goes wah, 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 and starts spinning them around like they're nunchucks, basically, like swinging them around him. I picked up this nickel that was sitting there on the counter by the register and wung it at him, and like he did this cross in front of him with the Slim Jims, like swung them through, like that. And soon as it made the X, he hit the nickel dead center of it and sent it flying back at me. And we are like, holy shit. Like it was the most amazing thing you had ever seen. It was like you could never do that again. I mean, it was just unreal. Like as it made the X, it was like ding. It went flying back at me. I'm like, what the fuck? Like CLB is a ninja. And not a euphemism. Michelangelo was always a party dude, though. But yeah, it was hysterical. I'll never forget that. The goddamn Slim. You had to bring up the Slim Jims. I forgot all about that. All right, let's see what Danny sent us. As I go through this damn rush job of a setup I did today. Voice chats for GAM. All right, bruv. Let's see what you got, mate. Oh, shit. Hold on a second. Hold on. Like I said, rush job. I forgot to do this. I gotta go into here. Let's try that again.
Hey guys, hope everyone's had a lovely day today. I'll try to be really quick. Yeah, so my thoughts on Europe. It's obviously been going downhill every single year, hasn't it, for quite a long time now. And when did it all start? I mean, I don't really know when it all started, to be honest. I mean, I'm 31 now. And I remember growing up as a kid that, in my childhood, it kind of wasn't like that. I maybe started to happen when I was maybe early teenager. Because again, like talking to my parents and stuff about, the way life was in London back in the day. I mean, when they was here, it was nothing like what it is now. So there's been a lot of change in the past 40, 50 years, like a really massive cultural change in this country, or especially in London, because it's so overpopulated, London. I mean, if you branch out into the outskirts of London, the countryside, it's different. But when you look at other sort of cities in England, so you've got places like Luton, Birmingham, stuff like that, which is heavily Islamic now. A bunch of Islamists have taken over. They take over all these small little cities around England. London now is quite overpopulated now with Muslims. And again, what they do is they take over little areas at a time. They put their shops there. Everything's halal now. Literally, if you was to come where I live right now, and I'll show you around my whole area, it's halal shop after halal shop after halal shop. They have all their halal chicken and chip shops. They take over halal KFC. They take over halal Chinese shops. The Caribbean shops are now halal. It's like, you literally, I don't order any fast food now, any takeaways, because if you go on there, the majority of them are halal, and people kind of laugh thinking, like, what's the big deal about halal? You know, big word, big word. Well, the thing about it, you have to do your research into what halal food is and what halal meat is, and the whole process of how they actually like kill the animals is extremely cruel. And plus, if I'm eating halal food, I'm funding Islam, because they again are buying their meat from Islamic sources. So I'm funding Islam, and I don't want to fund Islam. Islam is a satanic pagan cult that come from Saudi Arabia a long time ago. So I don't really want to. I can't put my money into any Muslim organizations, any restaurants, any shops, anything like that. I can't. So I refuse now. So I just obviously, don't get any takeaways anymore. But yeah, so my point about, again, Europe, it's obviously a mass influx of illegal immigration and immigration of people from third world countries that predominantly holds the Islam religion. I mean, let's just stop beating around the bush. I mean, that's just facts. If the majority of our immigration was people from Europe who shared the same culture and same religion, same way of life, then we wouldn't really have much of a problem, would we? I mean, you look Germany, Sweden, Austria. I mean, you look at Sweden, ever since they started taking in all these people from Somalia and all these sort of Islamic countries, their crime rate and the rate of rape has gone up. I can't even remember the percentage, but it's just gone up massively. And if you look at and you compare that to Poland, where they have 0% illegal immigration, why don't they have any massive rape and mass crime
Shout out to the
and
Polacks.
terrorist bombings from Islamists? Because they literally don't take that shit. They're a proud Christian nation, and they don't fuck about like the rest of Europe do. Like, oh no, we have to, let's all mix together, let's all bring in these third world cultures, these backwards cultures, these Islamist cultures that hate our religion, hate the Jews, hate Christians, hate liberals. You know what I mean? They want to persecute us, they want to take over. Yeah, let's all bring them in, and we're all just like dance around in circles and just sing lullabies, you know what I mean? And we'll get along. No, it's bullshit. We'll never get along. And this is what I keep trying to tell people, like, wake up, man. Like, you guys over in America don't have it. I mean, there's a place I know in Michigan, Detroit, there's like a place that Muslims are majority there, like 56%. So you got to watch out for that place. But luckily you guys you're a massive was it continent? You got 52 states, or whatever it is, or 50 states. So
Canada
for
will
us,
be
we're
51.
we're a tiny island, so we're seeing it more. We've got more population of Muslims here, Islamists. You know what I mean? So. And again, it doesn't help when the government is not on your side; it's on their side. I thought that's why I don't have social media, because if I was to say this the things that I'm saying to you guys now, then it could be an issue. So I'd rather not take that risk, to be honest. I'd rather just keep my energy, work out, keep healthy, keep fit, and if anything is to happen on the street with one of these people, then I'm ready for it. And it's just that's just the way it has to be. I mean, I know it's quite a messed up thing to say, but oh well. I mean, it is what it is.
Shout out, Danny, and you're not wrong. Like it's sad. It honest to God, the more I'm looking into it, the more I am not finding flaw in Danny's logic. And it doesn't just come from just Islamists or what have you. It's like I said, there's a corruption in the higher ups over there, in their elected officials, and they're doing nothing. If anything, they're encouraging more of it. And I don't see what the end goal is. Like, it doesn't make sense to me why they want to fuck up their societies so bad. I get tolerance, and I don't think anybody should be ostracized for what they believe, what they think, or what have you. But it goes into what I was saying about silencing voices over there and everything else. And yes, CLB, you're not wrong. He does sound like a mini Tut, you know, but Danny is not the only one, right? So yeah, we have, of course, the one guy I just mentioned, Tut, who's older and is kind of right on the same goddamn lines is what Danny's saying. But then David Mon, who I've known since he was like 16 or whatever, and played games with him and all that when he's 16. Video games, you sick bastard. I know Mister's going to say something. But legitimately, David Mon has been telling me the same thing for a long time now. Like a long time. He's been going off on it, and a lot of the guys we play games with and stuff, when David was telling us about it, a lot of them were just blowing it off. And I would always listen to him, you know, because there's got to be some reality to it for somebody that young to actually have that kind of concern. And it's fucked up because Danny's 100% right. If he were to go on Facebook and post what he just put up, like say he did a reel, he would have a knock at the door and he would be, you know, in jail right now. It's fucking crazy what's going on over there. What's up, Beans? Yeah, it's terrible. Terrible, awful fucking shit. I can't believe, you know, what's been going on. But it legitimately is the government silencing people. And I mean, not just even silencing them. Like, we're talking about thought crime. What the hell is thought crime? That's like a step beyond, the hell was that movie with it? That, God damn it. Minority Report. Where they have the psychics that predict the crime is going to happen. The guy's going to murder his wife or whatever, and then they go and arrest him before he does it. Like, they're doing shit like that now, but they don't have any psychics working for them. Like, it's getting outlandish. And to be honest with you, this is part of the terrifying part. America was headed down that path. We were getting close. We were getting close. The thing that changed that was Elon Musk actually buying Twitter and exposing a lot of the collusion between our deep state and our government and social media companies. Because, you know, over in Europe, they don't have as strong of a first, freedom of speech as we do with our First Amendment, but it's still pretty damn strong. And it's just, it's seriously disappointing. Yeah, absolutely. If you think you have insight, because I'm going to be God honest with you, Danny, I always looked at it as humanitarian. Like, the reason why the Europe was taking people in is to try and help because they were sympathetic. They wanted to give people a better life and everything else. If you think you have some kind of insight into why they would do something like this, I mean, I can tell you why, like, because they had the rape gangs or what have you, that it turned out that this shit was going on and they were covering it up. And I only half-ass know about it, so I'm not going to speak on it like I know what the hell I'm talking about with it. I know that there were basically migrants that were going around and, sexually assaulting young women, and they were going to jail or what have you, or getting caught and then being released, and it was all being covered up. I know that shit was happening. And I understood why. It's the Great Reset. It's always the Great Reset, Devin. It's always, but don't worry, because Trump stopped it. Although Trump didn't stop the chemtrails, so I don't know what the fuck we're talking about now. Oh, I mean, legitimately, if there is a government cabal that could control our, and this is one of those things. You can cheat a little on an election, but I don't think our elections are rigged to an extent where it's unwinnable. You know, if it was, then they would have pulled some shit like they just did with Romania, where they just took the entire election, threw it the fuck out. Like, who, what? What do you mean you just threw the entire election out? Like, because you didn't like the result. Oh, well, it was Russian disinformation. What's Russian disinformation? If somebody's going out there telling you the truth, like, I've seen this playbook before. I saw it. I saw it happen twice. I saw it in 2016 and 2020. I saw this playbook. What, you're going to present evidence and tell me it's not real next, right? Well, that's what Danny's talking about. I was actually catching up with CLB. I was talking about Pete Hegseth going over there and telling Europe, or telling NATO, that if they want to protect Ukraine and everything else, go knock yourselves out. But America will not be involved in it, and it will not fall under Title V. I covered where ABL got some shit wrong with Ivan. I've covered. I played the full clip of Clay Travis saying that Democrats are basically PU 55Ys. I've covered a lot of stuff. Actually, I'm so shocked that I can even remember it. Been telling old stories because CLB was, still a very good friend, very close friend. Was actually my first assistant ever. And that was in Blockbuster days, and telling stories about two of us and some of the crazy shit there. I'm sick like a fucking animal, and that's why I'm not painting. I'm just too foggy headed. I'll end up painting shit wrong or doing something goofy. I don't trust my hands right now. So I was going to make this a very quick one. We're already like 2 hours in or some shit. I mean, if if you want beans, you can always chime in too and tell us about everything that happened over in Bosnia, where they did ethnic cleansing of Muslims. I'd love to hear about that one, because I started researching some shit into that too, and that was pretty fucking ugly. Trust me, mister, when I say a quickie and it goes 2 hours, that's kind of standard. It's just the way I roll. I wasn't even there. God damn it, I hate it when that shit does this. Bina said, different demographic, but same as what they tried here, only Trump got in the way. Europe has weak woke leaders who are allowing this crap. I 100% agree with you. You're 100% correct. It wasn't just Trump. It was I think the American people as a whole, regardless of what they were showing on the news, that's why Trump won so handily here. Is because I think we all saw the way this shit was starting to play out, and none of us were up for it. We were all like, the hell with this. This is not going to happen. Like we're not dealing with this bullshit. Everybody was sick of it. Everybody was fed up with it. I think there were people that were, a lot of people that were either too afraid to speak out and speak their mind on it, which I understand. I get it. You know what I mean? Like you've got, you're a responsible adult who's raising a family. You got kids. You know, hey, Jimmy needs braces, whatever. And you're working your job and you just got to kind of eat shit and deal with it. But then you got assholes like me that, well, I don't particularly give a fuck if I hurt somebody's feelings really bad. I will say sorry when I'm incorrect or I pushed a limit on somebody I actually care about or see as a friend or something like this, and I hurt their feelings. I do feel bad about it, and I will apologize. It's a rare occasion, but I do. And I know I can be an abrasive asshole, but at the same point in time, the shit that was going on, some of this stuff was just fucking atrocious. Yeah, see, that's the whole thing. If you're not on live chat and you go to that top chat, even though I've got it set to live chat, shit won't show up. And that's the whole thing, because the chat's running off the side. It shows everything coming into the feed. I can tell when somebody says something and it didn't post through. All right, checking now, Danny.
Yeah, so as for those, the grooming gangs scandal, I think that was in Luton. I can't remember when that happened. It happened a little while back. And yeah, it was a massive cover up by the police, by our government, because of the people who did it. I mean, that's just the truth. And the majority of the people who did it were Pakistani Muslims, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm pretty sure they were they were born and bred here. So they were, British Pakistani Muslims. I don't think they were, immigrants. They were born and bred here in this country. And the thing is why I kind of disagree with the statement of them being grooming gangs, because I think generally when you have a grooming gang or groomers, they will target all types of people, right? All types of women, whether they're white, black, brown, candy stripe, they'll just target all ages, all types of ethnic backgrounds. But these Pakistani Muslims only targeted white girls.
Maybe they were the hotter ones.
Really, they're not really groomer gangs. They're basically Pakistani rape gangs. They're Muslim Pakistani rape gangs. That's what they were. And it was a big cover up. People like Tommy Robinson were talking about it for ages. They were exposing it. They were going there. They were interviewing people, interviewing victims, families, made documentaries. And he got called all the names under the sun: Islamophobe, racist, blah, 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 blah. Now, if you follow Tommy Robinson and you've seen all his stuff, then you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, then you probably won't know what I'm talking about. He's not a racist. He's not an Islamophobe. He's someone who goes after evil and exposes it. That's just the reality of it. And the government, the police over there, they covered it up because they didn't want to, they didn't want the backlash. They didn't want all all that stuff because of the type of individuals who did it. And that's pure evil. And those people those Pakistani Muslim rape gangs, in my opinion, the people who did it, they should all be lined up and shot. Done. And the people who covered up, the police and the people responsible for covering that shot, should also be lined up and shot.
But that's you guys don't have guns.
That's how. Obviously, that's not going to happen. As for what was the other point? Well, yeah, I'll try to be quick. I'll try to be really quick about the reason why we brought in all these people from these countries. I think maybe at first it was kind of like a asylum seeker thing, because these people fleeing war-torn countries, and we had to bring in these people. Because I understand when you look at the wars that were happening in these countries that maybe the West have caught, involved in, the Afghanistan stuff, and all the other ones. I can understand that, I can understand to a certain extent that these people, they didn't have really nowhere else to live there. The places they live were completely were gone. So they're, bring them into the West, I guess, you know what I mean? But the thing is, when you bring in all these people, they go into communities where, lower class communities, the people responsible for making all these wars, why don't they take them in? Why don't they bring them in? But obviously, they never do. They go around making all these illegitimate wars. Never should have been there in the first place. You destabilize all these regions and then you bring them all over. And it's not really fair, is it? It's not really fair to the people born and bred here and who want to keep our culture and religion. And it's also not, and I get it, it's also not fair for them to obviously go through all those wars that they've been through in their countries, but the thing is, for a while now, the people we're bringing in, all these illegal immigrants, the majority males. They're war fighting males. And I'm actually starting to really think now. Now, I know it's a crazy conspiracy theory, but I'm actually generally starting to think now that maybe one of two things, that they're bringing all these Muslim males to this country because I guess that they maybe want some retaliation from the British public to eventually when they get so fed up of these people, it ends up being like a little civil war and they just wipe them all out. And then the government end up using that to bring in some sort of authoritarian dictatorship government. Look, I don't know. And it sounds ridiculous, but it's happened throughout history where these things happen, where you bring in certain people from the world, they clash, and then they end up getting wiped out. Or they maybe they just want to keep us preoccupied. They want us to focus all our energy onto them instead of the actual corrupt elites in government. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are making all these things happen, and our attention should be focused on them, not the people, I guess. But it's difficult because these illegal immigrants, these are the people that we're seeing in our areas, in our everyday life. So obviously we're going to be focused on them, but it's really tricky to put your thumb on it because. I don't really know. Is it just pure fucking incompetence from our government, from our leaders? They just think letting these people in, everyone will get along, everything will be fine, and they just live in cuckoo land. They live in fairyland. Because again, those people in government, they're not interacting. They're not living in the same communities as these people. So it doesn't affect them. It affects people like me, my friends and family. So. Yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on that. I'll try not to be too long.
Well, that was a rant, but a good one. Thank you for the information on the grooming gangs or what have you. I did not know they were Britons. I had always heard they were migrants. So that is 110% a positive. Thank you for that information. I like I said, I've read half of it, so I can't speak super knowledgeable on it. But that does make a whole hell of a lot of sense. Devin said it in the chat that if you can divide a population, they're easier to control and then put through what you want to put through. Oh no, and nothing to be sorry about. What's up, Alien? And yeah, Alien's right too. A house divided will not stand. But there's got to be something more to it. Something that there's something extra going on there that nobody's seeing. I don't know. I mean, I can tell you why they did that shit over here. And it was trying to breed loyalty into illegals. Basically is what the Democrats were trying to do by flooding our borders. From everything I could see, what it came down to was Democrats retaining political power for basically trying to do it forever because you flood the country with 11 million people or what have you. You move them to certain states, you build up the voting bloc, right? Now you got to remember, our Congress gets seats assigned by people living there based on the census. So if you flood out one place and it counts in the census, regardless if they're legal or illegal, they don't care. It's a person there. Then the congressional seat moves from one place that has less population to a place that's more populated, right? So if you do it in Democrat strongholds and stuff like that, and they have this, then you can move the congressional seat over. So therefore, you can kind of keep control of your Congress. That makes sense to me. Plus, you bring in people that are broke, poor, and all this. You give them the world, and then like say to them, like, well, look, we're the ones who helped you. We're the Democrats, and now you basically installed people that are going to be loyal to you, and it helps you retain power. To me, the whole immigration crisis was nothing more than Democrats trying to keep power. And then the rumor had it that Kamala and Biden, their whole plan was to make the illegals legal, like with a blanket, like executive order, something like this, if they had won. So for me, it was installing a voter block. In Europe, I'm not sure how that shit works entirely. You guys got like 700 parties or something. Like, I don't know. I'm sitting here, I'm catching up. Bean said 1992, Bosnia declared independence. Serbs said nope and went in to secure the Serb territory. 3 years later, almost 10,000 Bosnians were genocided. And Serbia got the land, and it was over in 1995. Yeah. Yeah, and I know that is true, and I know that England helped them. I do know that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie at all. Gaza is probably going to be the next recognized genocide to an extent. Um, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be considered a genocide or what, but I'm not looking. The more I look into that shit, the worse that stuff is looking for Israel of all things. I mean, you are talking about scumbags that fucking went in and did the most horrific fucking things on October 7th, right? But then the response outweighed what was done, and it was fucking bad. Everybody always gets stuck on it's the worst assault on the Jewish people since the Holocaust, stuff like this, and it was, you know. But at the same point in time, you decimated an entire area to a point where it is uninhabitable. Like it's just it looks like a nuke went off there. Oh yeah, everybody hit the damn like button, please. Good call on that, Sheree. I forgot all about it. I don't even know. I wasn't even paying attention to that shit. Yeah, it is crazy, CLB. Like the whole thing is, and you know me, I listen to politics in passing. I was always more about chasing girls and shooting pool and drinking and partying and stuff like that. And as I got older and had kids, dealing, like I started paying more and more attention to politics and, not just US politics, but what's going on in our world. Because now I want I say this, I've said this before. There's no way I want to send my son off to a war that was fought for bullshit reasons or something. Like it's one thing if, America, we're directly being hit, something's happening to our country or whatever. Defending our homeland, I understand. But going over to some place and dying for nothing, man, as a parent, I can't handle that. Yep. Yeah, you got it, mister. Shooting girls, chasing pool. Yeah, 18,000 children beings. Yeah, like Gaza, it, like legitimately, it's like, well, we stand with Israel, okay, but let's, we can call it honest. It's not anti-Semitic to say what the fuck, like you're over there genociding people. Has America done some fucked up shit? Yes, it has. Yes, it really, really has. We've had our hands in cookie jars that we shouldn't have. We've done regime changes. We've done horrific things, right? But in modern times, that has slowed down considerably. Like some of the stuff, like just looking at Gaza, looking at the video of Gaza, you'd think you were playing a game of Fallout. Like it's terrible. Well, Vietnam, honestly, that was us sticking our nose in where it didn't belong. We shouldn't have been over there. Um, we were kind of like, that's just it. I don't want that, and God bless our troops. Like, it's not the American soldier's fault. American soldier is trained, and what they should do is, hey, go over there, do this. These are your orders. You follow orders. That's called being a good soldier. It's Jesus. Like, I feel like I should play Black Sabbath War Pigs in the background while this is going on. So the whole thing is Hamas needs to be wiped out. Period. End of sentence, Danny. Right? It's one of those sticky, nuanced situations where it's not the people that are there. It's not your average person who's out there having sex with a goat and raising a family. It's not their fault, right? They're just having sex with a goat and raising their family. But it legitimately is Hamas. It's Hamas, Hezbollah, like all those that are like, death to Israel, death to Israel. Now, if we look at it from their point of view, it's, well, when I was a kid, Israel, dropped a bomb on my house, killed my parents, and killed my dad's favorite goat. I don't know what he was doing to it behind the shed, but, still killed it. And now I'm taking revenge. Like, I'll go to my grave. If you look at it from that point of view, you can kind of understand a little bit, but there's got to be an end to it. Like, there's got to be a point in time where somebody says, we need to just stop all of this. I taught my puppy when he was a puppy, sharing is caring, right? Like, I've taught my kids, sharing is caring. It's one of those things we say. Like, it's horrific. The loss of life in different parts of the world is unnecessary in a lot of cases. Yeah, and that's a good way to be, Alien. Shout out to Alien's Spaceship Sound Effects and blog. Make sure you're checking out his channel. He streams constantly. He's always learning something new. He's always going in and telling people latest news, stuff with court cases, you name it. He covers it all. And even his night, he's got a cool little garden he shows off. Very good channel. I definitely recommend it. Check him out. It's not like, yeah, well, the puppy probably does want to pause in the fighting, and he'll get a puppy cup for being a good dog, while I'm streaming or what have you, not making noise in the background. But it really does. It kind of does break my heart that you've got all this shit going on, and then, when I'm ignorant of something, I ask you guys, like, all right, what's this about? What's that about? What have you? And one of the things I asked you guys was, what actually is the big argument between Islam and the Jewish faith? Like, what's the big argument? And then when you guys break it down to me that basically it's some Game of Thrones, no, our guy is the prince who was promised shit. It's like, really? This what you fucking assholes are fighting over? Like, come on now. And Mr. had said in the chat, did I cover the new LGBTQ LMNOP XYZ plus cults? I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, I don't run in those circles, mister. I don't know what cult you joined this month, but I'm sure like it's got to be interesting. So back to the actual fun part, you know, um, Danny. Is there some way that bringing all these people into your country helps somebody stay in political power or throws off a balance in some kind of way? Well, that sucked. Hopefully, I didn't bust anything or knock anything free. But does bringing all these people into your country, you know, demoralize the population? Obviously, it's done something where they can censor you guys better. So there's one part of it that gives them a little bit of power. But is there something that like I don't even know. I don't know if it helps Parliament, guys in Parliament stay in power by building their voter block. If it's making you guys look like a bigger power unit, is it dropping the prices on labor? Like, hey, the migrants we're bringing in will work for $5, £5 less than your average employee. Is it something like that? Because usually that's what it boils down to is money or power. That's one of the reasons why I'm liking Doge and some of the stuff they are doing is because they're following the money. And that's the one place where everything gets sticky and ugly is when you start following money. Right, Beans. And that's it. Modern day slavery. You say money forever. Good to see you. I mean, I'm not going to lie at all. And this is a terrible thing to say, but I'm actually shocked that more things aren't automatic at this point and people have been replaced by machines. So, like McDonald's, you can build a machine. I don't see it being difficult to build a machine that cooks those hamburgers, puts them on a bun, and wraps them, and then spits them the hell out. And just one person has to run a register and hand it to the customer instead of like 10 people working in a McDonald's, for example. Oh, yeah. Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, Bean said it right. All right, so you think that's what it is if you knew where the money was going. Well, if you cause an internal conflict, something that disrupts the status quo, you're not going to question where your money's going. So that is a possibility. And but CLB is also right. Doge is a cryptocurrency. Yeah, Doge is also a cryptocurrency that Elon Musk backed. But no, Department of Government Efficiency is what I'm talking about. Come on, forever. We all know what who would sell the drugs. That's what the yo-yo boys are for. Yo, yo, I got crack. Yo, yo, I got crank. Yo, yo, I got weed. What you need? And make sure you guys smash that damn like button. Hopefully you're all subscribed. I think you all are. But But yeah, start following money, start following the power, and you'll find that's when everybody gets upset. You start taking out slush funds. You start, and that's just it. Don't be surprised if there isn't another attempt on Trump's life. I sound like a drug dealer from the movies because that's what they actually do sound like on the street. If you don't believe me, go to the east end of Camden, go looking around, Camden, New Jersey, and watch them, and I'm talking young bulls come running out and will be like, yo yo yo, I got this, yo yo yo, I got that, yo yo yo, yo yo yo, yo yo yo. Used to call them the yo yo boys. Now you're good, Danny. Go ahead, send another take. Remember, I'm sick like a friggin' animal. I can't even believe I'm like still hanging in there with this. Yeah, well, that's just it. That this is the sad part. Yeah, and I think I've told this story. I've seen there when it came to the hood, there were two types of mothers. There were the type of mothers that really worked their ass off, 3 jobs, disciplined their children, and really gave a shit about everything from education to you're not going to live this thug life to you're going to be a good person, basically. When you break it down, you're going to be a very good person. Then there were the other type of moms, like the one that came into my store the one time and is talking on the phone, tried to pay for her kids' video games with an EBT card, had 4 kids with her, and said, I'm going to have to pop, is talking on the phone and says, I'm going to have to pop another one of these bastards out to be able to afford their video games. That their kids basically were nothing more than a paycheck to them from the government. And like that was the most tragic part because some of those kids were good kids. Some of them really were. But it wasn't because their mom gave any kind of fuck about them. Wasn't because their dad gave any kind of fuck about them. Was because they wanted a better life for themselves and were willing to go get it. I knew people like that. That honestly, I gave them jobs that worked for me. That were just trying to get by. Beans put up a shocked face, like I never do. You never heard me tell that story before? It's the fucking truth. Um, like here you go. Here's a good example, and I mean, granted, it's a movie, but if you remember in Boys in the Hood, that mom didn't give a shit that her kid got shot. She only gave a shit that he was going to make a ton of money becoming a running back, right? I think he was a running back or something like that. He was either a wide receiver or running back. And the mother was all in about, like, that was her ticket out of the hood. That's all she gave a fuck about with that kid. There's good mothers in the hood. There's also some really fucking terrible ones. There's some that I would see come in where their kid was legit like leading them in by the hand because they were so fucked up on whatever kind of drug they were on. They didn't even know if they should give a shit about themselves, let alone a child. Oh wait, hold on. I didn't even see it because it didn't pop up my feed. What did Sir Giggs say? Fuck, mother. Oh Jesus Christ. Oh, oh God. All right. I guess I better I better say what he said. Fuck, 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 motherfuck, 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 fuck, noich, smoking weed. Fuck, motherfuck. Yeah, like anybody would sponsor me. Yeah, you like so the whole thing was, and Sir Giggs, like I said, worked with me, my assistant manager with Blockbuster or whatever. He'll even tell you, I used to tell every employee I'd hire, I'd be like, all right, take clerks home with you tonight because this is basically the reality of what you just signed up for. Well, I mean, it is that kind of show, mister, where, you can drop whatever cuss words you want. Oh my God. Forever with the. Oh my God. Raid Shadow Legends. You just putting that in my chat will make them call me up. Apparently, they sponsor anybody and everybody. I still have yet to play that game, too, no matter how many times I've seen somebody cut a promo for it. And now you can get the latest whatever in that game. I still have yet to even play it myself. You can join my clan and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I've seen that advertised a shit ton. That, Better Health. What are the other ones like on YouTube? What other ones do we always see ads for? Yeah, Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, I believe they pay well. I don't doubt it. Cash App is another one. AG1, yes. Yep, Athletic Greens. That's another one you see all the time. I mean, I guess these companies make money. They have to. I guess the younger people watching, yeah, game subs for anime VTuber. That makes sense. It's kind of crazy to me too. Like I've been seeing a lot more virtual things come up. Like I think it's dudes using voice changers and then using like animated avatars or whatever. It's a game. It's a game. Dark Fantasy Beans. Is that what it is? Did you used to play it? Did you watch the quartering and like sign up to his clan or what have you? You know, CLB. Have you ever seen the quartering? He's kind of like the dirty bird of the YouTube news space. Like crazy, crazy. Yeah, he is. Like he looks like the guy who used to sell those knockoff like Chinese toys at the flea market. That's what the quartering's like. Like he looks like somebody you would see at like Columbus or Berlin Mart that would be like outside selling like, if it was Power Rangers, it would be called the Empowered Rangers and like they would fall apart when you took them out of the package and shit. Yeah, it is the chubby incel guy. Dirty Bird. No, Dirty Bird was. I'm telling you, it's like that guy with his prunas, the irresistible candy with the irresistible taste. He was an interesting character at the very least. Like he was able to carry a gun. I'm like, why are you able to carry a gun in New Jersey? He's like, because I carry more than $1,000 in cash on me. Like, what the fuck are you doing on the side, buddy? Oh, okay. That's what's up, Beans. Wanted to play the PC version of it. No, you're not annoying at all, Danny. It's actually good because it gives me a second to drink some OJ and listen. I one of the hardest goddamn things about doing this shit, like streaming and stuff, is actually being the one talking all the time. And like I love the fact that I can read your chats and get feedback and all that kind of stuff. But it is rough, like sitting here and talking for what, like 2 hours 40 minutes now of just running my fucking gums and talking about shit. It's kind of rough, not gonna lie, and I don't want to bore everybody either. Yeah, I do need a co-host, CLB. I my buddy D wanted to do some streaming shit, but he's either never free or he's one of those ones that, yeah, let's get something going and then disappears for 6 months. I was never a big fan of Dave and Buster's. I'll get into that after Danny's chat. See what Danny's got to say.
Yeah, look, I just want to say as well, like, I'm not trying to offend anyone, and I know this topic can be quite, what's the right word? It can be quite, touchy. It can be quite sensitive, innit? Because obviously, you guys know me by now. I'm not speaking about specific human beings, individuals. I'm going off. I'm actually talking about one specific
A generality.
ideology. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to offend anyone. Like, if you look throughout history, there's been plenty of evil from all types of people and cultures and religions and whatnot. Some justified, some not justified. I mean, if you look at, again, the stuff that is, is Israel and Palestine, if you look at, obviously, what's sort of picked up all this kerfuffle again, obviously, what happened on October 7th. I mean, the thing is, like, I know you should really separate the actual Palestinian civilians and the actual Hamas, the Islamist, terrorist group. But it's difficult because that's their government. That's who run, that certain place. I mean, and the thing is as well, like I saw a story yesterday where Hamas just sent back some dead hostages to Israel. I think one of them was a mother and two babies, and it was actually Palestinian civilians who actually killed. Like, on that day, like, there's actually footage of them. They're the ones who kidnapped them and shot their dog. And it wasn't actually Hamas. It was actually Palestinian civilians. Like, they were actually. It wasn't just Hamas on that day that went around slaughtering innocent people. It was actually Palestinian civilians that were involved in it as well. And when you look at footage as well of all Hamas, in their trucks, and when they kidnapped people, and I don't even want to say this, but there was a body on the back of the car in the boot, and they drove back into Gaza, and you see all the Palestinian civilians, women, men running out, chanting Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, and they're all chanting like, yeah, like all these dead bodies in the back of the car. It's like, but no, but they got nothing to do with it, right? Because they're just innocent civilians. They don't want anything to do with it. But so I'm not saying all of them, but obviously there are children in the equation, which children they're always going to be innocent. It's not their fault. They're born into a culture, into a religion that do nothing but preach fucking hate, and it's not their fault. You know what I mean? Like, it really isn't their fault. And all this thing about we want our land back, that's our land. That should be for us. That should be for Palestinians. That should be for Muslims. What are you talking about? I mean, what is a Palestinian at the end of the day? Like, what are those people? What is that? Actually think and do research about who those people are. I mean, we do know the majority of those people in that region are Muslims. Islam rules that place. When you look at Egypt, Jordan, Palestine, like, that is predominantly Islam. So when you talk about, but where did that religion come from? It come from Saudi Arabia. And when you look at the Islamic conquest, when they spread from Saudi Arabia, look, again, look, I'll just be quick. Christianity come around in the 1st century and it spread throughout the West.
Like herpes.
Now, when Muhammad was born, I think in the 7th century, and then the 8th, 9th century, and then, Islam started to do its conquest. It started to spread. It spread throughout the Middle East, and it went and took over a lot of Christian countries, like Egypt, like Jordan, like, again, they even went so far into the south of Spain, they took over that for a few hundred years. And everywhere they took over, they persecuted and they killed and they spread their fucking bullshit. And they made things 10 times worse. Then the West started up the Christian Crusades because hundreds of years of persecution. And obviously they were going to continue. They weren't just going to stop at Spain. They were obviously going to go to France and then continue everywhere else. So the Christian Crusades got started up. They went down and they fought them and they pushed them all the way back. And they defeated them. And that's a really important, that's a justified war. People always talk about the Christian Crusades as if it was an unjustified, terrible act. No, it was fucking warranted because of the Islamic conquest. So great, well done. It was very important. But the thing is, though, so if they talk about this, that land wasn't, go back to, if you want to actually talk about your land and where your people come from, go back to Saudi Arabia. Go back to Arabia, where you lot come from, if we're actually being brutally honest. So, I mean, that's just my take on that. So if you really want to actually go back and talk about history and talk about where your people come from, and you want to talk about the religion that you want to spread, and that's our land, that's back in Saudi Arabia. Go back there. I mean, the Israelites, the Jews, Christianity, they were all there, they're hundreds of years before Islam was even born. So don't come at me with all this stuff about that's my land, that's my people. That's just my take on that for tonight.
All right. And an interesting take it was. But I will say this. Let's break down America then. None of us were born here. Well, I can't say that. There are Native Americans that were born here originally. And then what? European settlers came, conquered Native Americans, slowly pushed out the land, slowly bought it up, whatever. Slaughtered people, took it over. The victors are the ones who write the history books, right? The problem is that anybody can claim anything as their homeland. I can claim some chunk in Europe is my homeland and go back and start a war over it. My question is this: when it comes to all religion, not just Islam, not just Christianity, not anyone in particular, why don't we all just teach peace through it? Why can't it just be peace? Why does it have to be annihilation of a different religion that doesn't see your religion? Why can there only be one true way to worship a god? Or one correct way? Why can't... Let's Rodney King this shit. Why can't we all just get along? And what's going on, Paul? Good to see you, man. But why, like, it always fucks me up, and it breaks my heart too. Why can't we just see ourselves as one race of humans? And each person is individualized and different, and their point of view is different. You can have different points of view, and yes, I break it down into good and evil is the easiest way of doing it. You can do evil and do a good thing with it, right? Like, for example, murder is evil. We all agree on that. Killing somebody is evil. Guys molesting a child in front of you or raping a woman in front of you and you murder him. You shoot him dead. You did evil, but did a good thing, didn't you? So, I don't know. It's a matter of perspective, I guess. But I think that if you can come together I think that is the perfect evolution of humanity, is if you can combine every religion into one and stop looking at each other and basing things off of race, and you unify as one people with one message, peace and betterment of your species, not of any religion, not of any, ethnicity or anything like this. You're just bettering the whole of humanity and pushing ourselves forward. I think that maybe we'd find immortality. Maybe we would find, I don't want to even say divinity, but just a perfectness in a human being. And you know what? You're probably right, Devin. That's probably when the world would end. What I've noticed is one of the things that I and I'm guilty of it too at points in my life. Too many people want to be accepted into too many different things because it gives them something that makes them unique, right? Or stand out. Like the latest one is transgenderism. A kid, kids being gay. Okay, well, that's a little shocking, a little out there, and all that kind of stuff. Kid being trans is way out there and crazy, in my opinion. But at the same point in time, are they getting more attention? Does it make them special in other people's eyes and make them unique in some way? It does. I think sometimes we need to put aside our uniqueness and look at it from everybody else, like from a different perspective, which is why I love when Danny like goes on his rants because I get to see his perspective on reality. I get to understand how he's thinking, why he's thinking this way. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that is the problem forever. You're forever, honestly, it may be sarcasm, but you're fucking spot on too. Like I'm pretty goddamn sure this is why aliens don't land on this planet and say, "Hey, guess what? We're real. We exist." If they really do exist and they're really out there, this is why they don't just present themselves to humanity because we would see them as strange, different, and completely unique from us, and then immediately start killing them en masse. Yeah, I mean, you guys are going off in the chat, and you're 100% right. Everybody does have a different lived experience. Everybody has experienced different things. Everybody has their stories and all that. And some of them are really fucking fantastic stories. Some of them are, just mundane and boring. And that's okay too. And what if the aliens were here already? Well, I mean, it's a possibility. It's definitely possible. I mean, if we still got alien in the chat, right? Like he'll 100% go in on this. Like, yeah, we're all different shapes and sizes, but when you break it down, right? If if you cut my arm open and I bleed, I can do the same thing to you. It's not like you have impenetrable skin, right? Like we're all one species. Like there's always going to be differences in our genetics, genetic coding, everything else, which is what makes twins so interesting, like identical twins, because their genetics are pretty much the same, stuff like this. But at the same point in time, despite all our differences, we need to find a unity as a species and advance things. Like, I'm not going to lie, when I was a kid, I thought by now we would have like jetpacks or have been to Mars, have been like exploring the galaxy. NASA was going to go everywhere. Um, all this kind of shit. Instead, what are we arguing over? Like what we're arguing over if you should put a mask on to prevent a virus, and finding out that the mask doesn't work, but they're still propagating it and forcing you to wear it because, well, it's stupid. And if the aliens were already here, CLB, they're probably looking at us and saying, "Look at these fucking idiots. Let's see what's going on now." They're just watching us like where we watch Survivor or any other reality TV show. Like, oh, these idiots! Look, they're playing with nukes now. Oh, goodness me! Now they're releasing viruses on one another. Like aliens would look at us like we're complete fucking dipshits for some of the stuff we do to each other. Like, oh, look, they're arguing over race again. Can you believe this shit? Like, didn't they solve this shit in the 60s? Nope, 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 nope. They're still arguing over it. Like, it's it's a shame. I had said that a long time ago that the only way the human race would come together is if there was some kind of other species like an alien that landed on this planet and started a war with all of us, like came here to conquer us. Then you would see humanity unite to fight against it. Yeah, the aliens are watching the Earth Channel. You got it in one, dude. And here's one of those other things, right? And I feel shitty saying this. Jesus Christ, forever. That's great. Aliens can't come here because they can't do it legally. They're in a 5-year waiting pattern right now to come here legally. Yeah, and unlike the movies, you're right. We probably wouldn't win. Well, I'm not going to lie at all. If if there is a being that has the ability to traverse space time and all this kind of stuff from a distant planet and a distant star to get here that fast and everything else, we're already technologically fucked. Like it would be the equivalent of going after a tank on horseback with bows and arrows. Like we're screwed. We're done. There's nothing we can do. Like they would just come here and be like, "All right, butt sex for everybody," and we'd all be done. Thanks for the horsing around. Yes, sir. See, it takes 8 months, right? So allegedly, it takes 8 months to get to that star system, but we can't even make it to the fucking moon. We still have astronauts stranded in outer space that Elon Musk, a private citizen, is going to have to go save, right? And he's even saying, like, I think 4 weeks or something, they're going to launch the mission to go retrieve those astronauts. But, like, what are we talking about here? Like, when you really break that shit down, we haven't even gone to the next planet, let alone the next star. And when you look at a level of technology like that, we're screwed. We're absolutely fucked. Like technically, we're like Stone Age. You're not wrong, alien. We're Stone Age compared to an outside force like this. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, really, what are you gonna do? And honestly, Mister is 100% correct. And that's Einstein right there. I think it was Einstein who proved that, right? That it's fucked up. Like, I mean, there's theories out there, and because of how long it would take light, it takes light to travel, that some of the stars that we're looking at now are already gone. Like, they don't even exist anymore because we're seeing the light from a star that's probably already dead. And it's happened before. So it's possible. Proxima Centauri, huh? What about Andromeda? That's a galaxy, isn't it? Yep. You're 100% right, CLB. So you got to think the only way to move that quick would be to bend gravity in space time to a point where you're bending two different points in space time at the same exact frequency to move through it, right? One, we don't even have that would take more power than everything we have on Earth all invested into it at this point. Well, let's see what Danny Boss just sent as an audio.
Yeah, what do you guys think of this idea? So all these illegal immigrants that you guys have, instead of deporting them all, why don't you use them as like bounty hunters? So basically what you do, you say to them, you say, okay, now, so if you want your citizenship, you want your papers, what you got to do is you're going to have to go after like sex offenders and rapists, you know, like real evil scumbags. If you get 5 heads, so if you go after these sexual predators, these deviants, so if you bring me back 5 heads, you'll get your papers. And you just call the program something like
Murder for hire.
Alien versus Predators.
Aliens versus Predators. It's fucking hysterical. Yeah, at first I thought you were being serious. And I was like, what the fuck, Danny? What's wrong with you? Had me fucked up for a minute there. I'm like, yo, are you being serious? Oh, shit. Oh, good lord. Aliens versus Predators. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, we're talking about fucking aliens. Like, I think there's got to be something. There's definitely got to be some shit, but do we get it? Do we understand it? I don't think so. I don't, not completely. We definitely don't know how their tech works. If we knew how their tech worked, then like let's say we had alien tech, like we legit have alien tech, and you don't think that somebody like a Joe Biden would, or actually even better would be Donald Trump, would just go, yeah, the Ukraine-Russia war is over as of now, or else we are going to launch this. This shit is done. Like, it would just be a game changer for whoever had it. If Russia had it, then it would already be like, they'd be like, Ukraine, who gives a fuck about Ukraine? We're just taking over the entire world. Like, if Putin had it, he'd just be like, yeah, that's it. World's my oyster now. Oh, you guys can't even catch this fucking thing. Oh, we'll launch nuclear missiles. Oh, we shot them down before they even got out of the silo. We're not alone in the universe. There's no way we could be. I don't care if it's a single cell organism, mister. There's something somewhere. And eventually it will grow, it will evolve, it will change. It won't be the same as us, and but life does, it has to exist. There has to be, there's factors. If you're not religious and you go off of just, what created humans, what created life on this planet, it's a certain combination of items, right? Like amino acid or what electricity. I can't remember what all the shit is. Water. There's certain things that have to be there for life to form, right? There's got to be life out there. It'd be different than us is all. Yeah, I'm not sure that we've ever met with aliens. And what do you mean you don't believe Joseph Smith? What, you don't believe Jesus walked across fucking Utah? Yep, Earth soup. Well, I mean, now that's, if you're really breaking it down with multiverse, like multiple universes, it's possible. I mean, theoretically, anything is technically possible, just very improbable. It also goes to what we understand as far as physics and like how far we've pushed the limits on them. There's shit that you can do with physics that wouldn't make sense on its face, but actually does mathematically work out. But was it a nothing? Like the whole thing is, okay, here you go. Here's a question for you. We know that the universe expands. Like as time's going, our universe is getting spreading out, spreading out, spreading out, right? What's outside the universe that the universe is spreading into? What about that shit? We'll never know because you'd have to catch the edge of the universe and go outside of it. Yeah, if only Ivan was here to explain it to us. I explain it to you. Well, that's just it. Light speed travel is not possible for anything with mass. Well, even then, if you believe in God, then and you believe God's everywhere and has done everything, what if God's nothing more than the universe itself? I mean, if we're really getting into like, granted, now I'm foggy headed and like I'm sick, so this is almost like me talking when I'm baked. But when you break that shit down, right, and you're right, Alien, just because we don't know how something works, even if it defies our logic, doesn't mean it's there somehow, or it isn't there somehow, right? Yeah, I knew exactly what you meant. That's just it. What if we are just an atom or a molecule? Like, what if our universe is just a molecule in some being's fingernail? Like, we don't know. We're fucking small little monkeys living on a planet. But this is the thing, I've asked this question before, I think, of everybody. I think I did this in Discord once, and Mister was the only one who was like, no, I would want to know. But legitimately, the two questions I would not want to ever have the answer to personally are what happens when we die, and is there a God? I don't want to know the answer to either of those questions. I would rather find out when I die. Because, like Mr. said about the, either we're alone in the universe or there's something else out in the universe, both are equally as terrifying. To me, that's the same thing with the concept of a God or death. Is if I knew there was no God, right? And everybody knew there was no God. And I'm not saying that there's no God. I'm saying if we all knew for a fact, like, oh, well, God doesn't really exist, then what? How would that change your life? How would that change certain people morally, right? And then same thing with death. Like, now I've told my ghost story. I believe 110% there is something beyond fucking death, right? But say there was nothing and we just cease to exist or cease to be. You can't even picture that shit in your head. You can't picture nothing. Yeah, the concept of nothing in your mind doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. I I'm more like leaning towards the anime goddess myself there, Mister. That revives you in another world and gives you lets you retain your knowledge. That kind of goddess, and then gives you some kind of beefed up powers to do like alchemy or super martial arts or some weird shit. I'm more like that. And yeah, that's the whole thing. Energy can't be created nor destroyed. It can change forms, so you have kinetic and what have you. Then what happens with all the energy in your body, since you have enough energy in your body to power the city of New York? I think for like 5 minutes or some shit. But you have all this latent energy, kinetic energy within every one of your cells, and when you die, it's cellular death for the most part. There are certain things that still happen, but your energy is just changing form. I bet you do forever. I bet you do. And well, that's just it. Yeah, I mean, telescopes have definitely come a long way, CLB. Um, it's always interesting to me. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's been all kinds of debate about Mars, like different pictures that people are seeing on Mars, and they're like, "What is that? What is this? What is that?" There's one that's like a square foundation, and it looks like the base of a pyramid, but it's like perfectly square and something that shouldn't just naturally occur. Well, that's just it. Everything's spinning, right? If we're spinning around the sun, all this, like all the planets and everything else, we're all in orbit. Our sun has to be spinning around something too, right? I don't think the sun is just at a fixed point. I think everything in the universe, because it's expanding, is swirling. And we kind of see that with and just look at the Milky Way galaxy, like a big picture of it, of how it looks. And it's like a giant swirl. So if we're spinning, are we really just, maybe the universe is a giant bathtub and somebody's pulled the plug and we're slowly draining. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But you ask anybody, you know, What is God to you? What does he look like? Is he a big man with a long flowy beard? Is he a spaghetti monster? Is, what is God? Everybody has a different interpretation for the most part. Mister's just being Mister and having fun. So, I, like, here's the thing. This one's one of those out there GAM things. At first, I thought the moon landing being faked might be total bullshit. Like, no, we definitely went to the moon. I think we really did go to the moon. I think we did land on the moon. We have been to the moon. Do I think the initial moon landing, some of that was bullshit? I think some of that was bullshit. I think that we had to beat Russia at that time to the moon. And so what you did was you're like, fuck it, we're going to film this. We'll still get to the moon and all that stuff. My big problem is that the data that we use to get to the moon is missing. Like what the fuck? Oh no. Don't put that song in my head forever. Nope, no flat earth for GAM. Give me 1 second. No, I gotta walk my dog. Oh god. Dear Lord. All right, let's see. What the hell did I miss? So it's revolving around a super black hole. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. We're not getting into a flat earth discussion. God damn it. Okay. If you guys are going to argue with me about the earth being flat, then I would like you to show me the edge of the earth. I'll send you $100 out of my pocket if you can show me the edge of the earth. Unless you're saying it's like a treadmill and it's just, pulling through constantly. Uh oh. Danny. All right. Let's see what Danny's got to say.
Yeah, has any of you heard about that? Because my mate was telling me recently about there's been like a warning from, I don't know if it's from NASA or whoever, but I don't know if it's in the next 40 or 50 years or something like that. I don't know the exact time frame, but there's like an asteroid warning that
Went from
that is on
0.08 to
like on a trajectory
3.5.
for Earth, and it's apparently it's quite a big one that could cause a ton of damage. Have any of you guys heard of that? And if that is true, say that's the case, and it's like, as they're getting more data over the years, and they're
Night,
figuring out the
mister.
size of it and the trajectory, and like, how are we gonna like just send someone up into space to kick it away or something? I mean, I don't know how you're gonna do that. It's gonna be like that movie where they all go up in a spaceship and then they land on the asteroid, and then they stick a nuke on it or something, and they blow it up.
It won't work
or
now.
how else could you do it? You could maybe or maybe just send like a missile up to it to maybe like hit it enough to explode it enough to like hit it off trajectory. I mean, what's your guys' thoughts on that?
So, yeah, Danny's right. Our asteroid warning, possibility of an asteroid impact went from 0.08 to like 3.25, I want to say. I saw this too. And that is because I think it was 2030 asteroid possibility of hitting Earth, right? And good night, mister. Thank you for dropping in. Alien, I appreciate the hell out of you, considering I'm not painting on this goddamn stream. I wasn't even expecting to go this long, but it's been a good conversation and everything else. You guys are pretty much carrying it, I'm not going to lie, and I appreciate the hell out of you. Oh, God, your data got breached. But yeah, the asteroid or what have you. And no, unfortunately, Bruce Willis is slowly like decaying, so we can't send him up to the asteroid to blow it up. I think the only way, and man, I hate to even think like this, the only way that humanity could avoid the impact of the asteroid or get an asteroid that was coming directly at us would be to land missiles on it. I know they did a practice run where they landed on an asteroid with something. But if you could figure out a way to take basically solid rocket boosters, land them on the asteroid, have them drilled into it, you could change its trajectory. But you would have to catch it pretty far out to do that. That would be the only way I could think that we could, because you can't just like nuke an asteroid. Like that shit wouldn't work. We'd still get hit with a debris field, and you would create a giant debris field where it would be raining meteorites constantly. Good night, Beans. Good to see you. I'm not much longer for this world myself. Yeah. But you would have to catch that shit when I'm going to say, like, it's probably around Mars. You would have to attach your rocket boosters, push it in a different trajectory. Get it the fuck away from, us. Now, I think I would said this before. I thought about narrating or, reading off the story, and it was called The New Star. I want to say it's either The Star or The New Star. And it's an old H.G. Wells story. But basically, the whole thing is that humanity basically sees this light in the sky, and it starts getting bigger and bigger, and they figure out it's a comet, and it's headed towards Earth. And basically, they realize that it's not going to hit Earth, but it's going to come damn close, and then I won't ruin the story completely. Well, actually, I can, because it's probably a like almost 100-year-old story at this point. But it just misses Earth, and from the comet coming close enough to us, it creates kind of like a gravity field that just causes earthquakes, hurricanes, the whole nine yards, like natural disasters, and wrecks Earth. And then the actual end of the story is a bunch of Martians on Mars looking at Earth saying, it doesn't look so bad from here. Yeah, yeah, that's what we could do. Maybe that's why they're doing all this mass immigration stuff, is because they're planning on putting them on rocket ships, shooting them up there, and having them like physically push the asteroid out of alignment with Earth. I can't speak to flat Earth alien. Like I don't. I'm not all in on it. Beans is the one that you'd have to get on your stream talking about flat Earth. She has the best arguments that I've seen. Yep, there you go. 3.1%. That's what it was. 14 hours ago. Yeah. Yeah, I had seen that. Where the hell did I hear that or see that? I think it was Patrick Bet David's show, the PBD podcast or whatever. I think that's where I heard it. I was like listening, half listening to it. Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. Like flat Earth, unfortunately, like it's fun and all that to joke about, but there are people that really believe it. Then again, there's people that really believe that there was going to be a great reset too. Like, oh, we're all headed towards a great reset, and they're turning the frogs gay. But that's not how that works. Um, if it was, is there shadowy fucked up shit that happens behind the scenes in our government? Yes. In all governments, yes. Are there people that, make a lot of money off of war and strife? Yes. But is there actually going to be a great resetting where there's a group of super elites that control the entire planet? No, because they probably already do. And honestly, it's not cost efficient. Like it's not cost effective. You don't need to reset everything to give all the money to the millionaires and billionaires. All you got to do is launch a virus from a lab in China. And then you'll reset all the wealth to the richest few. Oh man. I am starting to get my ass is starting to drag, guys. As much as I'm enjoying this stream, can Thanos come and snap a reset? He could if the Infinity Stones still existed in the Marvel Universe. I mean, I'm not going to lie. The tragedy that was Captain America Brave New World, it's. Oh my God. And that's going to be my final topic. This will be my final thing. So, Captain America is Steve Rogers. Period. End of sentence. There is no other Captain America. Steve Rogers is Captain America. Right? And in the comics, they give it to Bucky Barnes after Captain America is killed, and then the super soldier serum wears off on him after he's resurrected, and the super soldier serum wears off on Steve Rogers, and he becomes an old man. He passes it to Bucky Barnes, right? Then it goes to Sam Wilson, who was the Falcon. He takes the mantle. The new movie where they're trying to make like they try to jump in the comics and make Falcon the new Captain America. The movie was not good. It tried to be 20 different things, but my big disappointment is the Falcon is actually a very cool character, right? And what they did to try and bolster him in the movie, they gave him Ant-Man's helmet, Black Panther's vibranium like armor tech stuff, Captain America's shield, and I'm trying to remember what was the other piece. But basically he's not Captain America. He's Captain Amalgam, right? He's like an amalgam of a whole bunch of different characters. Like it was bad. They finally introduced adamantium in the world, and it was like, okay, that's cool because now you can kind of do like a Wolverine story, but the way they did it was stupid. What? Ryan Gosling's playing the new Black Panther. God, I hope not. Dear Lord. I mean, you've got that going on, but yeah, they tried to like the whole Hulk story was stupid. Having the leader, the way they did the leader in that movie was terrible. Like Captain America: Brave New World avoided it. It wasn't good. And I'm trying to remember something else that I saw that I was just like, dear Lord. Oh, I know what it was. Ncuti Gatwa, who is playing the current iteration of Doctor Who, is basically like said he's quitting. And he's only been there for 2 years. So he'll be the shortest running doctor. And the BBC apparently is talking about canceling Doctor Who again. So, because they went super woke with it. Doctor Who was a great show. They destroyed it. Well, it's not just that. You got to talk about the ginger side if we're talking about, people being replaced in Hollywood. Like any redhead is being basically wiped off the map. But again, that's a conversation for a different time. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate every last one of you. I think the Dayquil is worn off. I'm starting to drag. And I don't want to bore you or say some dumb shit that I fucking regret later. I'm going to finish off my OJ, rack the hell out. I guess next week we'll continue on with Toga. But I appreciate every one of you guys, chiming in, watching for a little bit, sharing a little slice of life, and actually being unified and having fun. And thank you. Thank you all. I really do appreciate you. So, until next time, make sure you take care of yourselves and be cool. Stay cool. And just remember, don't take shit from anyone. Good night, everybody, and thank you.